Hello?
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah, how are you?
Good, how are you, man? Uh, so I just had a question. So obviously, animals have, like, a human has, at most, overall they have 1 to 2 kids. You know what I mean? So, but animals they'll have litters of like 12. So what happens if like what's your idea if like the animals start overpopulating the earth, or what do you do then? Like,
What are you talking about? Veganism? This is
well,
about God. Okay. Are you talking about veganism?
Well, no, I mean, I guess God, it's the same thing. I do believe in God, yes, but you're talking about veganism right now, so
Okay, the animal. No, I'm not. The animals that we're killing are not being found from the wild. We're not taking them from the wild. We, as people, are breeding them into existence by the billions.
I
So,
understand. I understand.
so if we stop eating the animals, there'd be less animals. They wouldn't overpopulate. There would actually be the opposite effect.
So yeah, but even if we didn't have them in a crate and bred them, they're still gonna breed.
Way less than what we artificially breed them. Do you understand the numbers we're talking here? Do you understand that we force them to breed way much more than they naturally would? Number one. Number two, we can always just give them contraceptives, right? We can give them pills such that they don't breed as much as we want them to. That's better than, continuing the cycle of chaos and destruction we
Well,
call
no,
factory farming.
I mean that's fine to do that, but that's still an unliving animal. You know what I mean? So I mean,
I don't know. What's your point? We're not unliving. You're unliving animals right now, not me.
right. But let's just say if we all stopped and we all turned vegan, like what would happen if the animals did
The animals would
start
be way
over.
better. The animals would be way better off. We put them in sanctuaries where they'll be naturally taken care of until they naturally die.
Okay, so
Over
those
time, the
animals would
populations would go. Hold on, you have to listen. Over time, animal populations will dwindle, and there'll be less harm, less torture, less abuse in these systems that we call animal farms. It's beneficial for everybody if we all go vegan. It's beneficial for humanity. Less land, less water would be used. We'd have more food, more water for us.
by just you mean by having like animal sanctuaries? You mean like
Yes.
you mean like would you like neuter them whatnot?
We would do whatever we have to so that the populations wouldn't go crazy. And that's a way better option than forcing them to be slaughtered and continuing that process like crazy. We are already overpopulated with animals. Most mammals in the world are farm animals. Chickens, cows, and pigs make up most animals on the planet. That's overpopulation because of humanity. Okay?
No.
Your argument is very bad. The solution is to be vegan.
Hi. So I was just wondering about why if what's our purpose here? If the universe is gonna forget about us, if everyone's gonna forget about us, what's our purpose?
Our purpose is up to us. We
Yeah,
don't.
so then I could kill I
We
could
often look up. We look up out there for purpose. We look to the sky. We look to God,
this
whatever.
guy.
But I'm sorry, but
You just said we look
maybe
up to
instead
God.
of waiting for a purpose, why not do something purposeful? Why are you waiting for something to come to you
You
that
just
tells you
said that we
purposeful?
look up to God.
Yeah, how old are you, by the way?
I'm 18.
Yeah, I don't get purpose from a book or God. I get purpose by doing purposeful things, helping other people, loving other people. And yes, we will die after this and won't go to heaven. But we live now, and now is what's important to us. It's all we got is each other. And that's why, to me, it's purposeful without God.
So, but I could do whatever I want because God doesn't exist.
You can do that. You can do that whether or not God exists.
So then I could eat animals.
You can, but it's still wrong in my eyes, and probably
Why
wrong
is it
in your
wrong
eyes.
if there's no God?
So you're saying if there was no God, you would go ahead and rape and murder?
Yeah, why not? If there's no God.
Really? If there's no God, you think it'd be okay? Tomorrow we found out there's no God. Tomorrow you would go ahead and rape people?
Well, there's. Why do we do the things that we do? Do we do it to feel good?
We do it to help other people, and yes, in return, it makes us feel good and it helps sustain our society. That's the entire point of doing ethics. It gives rise to a better population of people who then give rise to better people. It's a progression. And it's not,
Okay.
the entire point of ethics is to disregard selfishness in the process and be selfless and help each other. That's the entire point of ethics. Without God or with God, it's
Right.
really secular.
Okay, but still, like, I don't know. I'm just not understanding. How's everything function? How is the world functioning?
The world doesn't require somebody to function. It seems to me that things naturally occur, and there's nobody pulling the strings of the universe. There's no reason why things have to be intended the way they are. I think that we just happen to be here by chance, this way. There's nothing about this universe that's in particular, designed necessarily. How do you tell the difference between design and non-design? How do you tell the difference between a universe that is functional versus a universe that's dysfunctional? How do you tell the difference? You can't.
So let's say there was hell or heaven, whatever. Let's say you went up, and you ended up going to hell. I personally feel like, obviously I believe in God, but what's the benefit of not believing in God? You might as well just believe in God, so that, just in case.
Yeah, this is called Pascal's bargain. It's the idea that might as well just believe in God because otherwise you're going to hell. The problem is that you could also be wrong about a plethora of other possible gods out there. I mean, Zeus, Mithras, Dionysus, all the Egyptian, Roman gods, African gods, the South American gods, all the different gods throughout history. You could be wrong about as well. So we're both in the same boat, my friend. You just believe in one more god than me out of a billion trillion others. But also, you do lose a lot of things by being a theist. You lose your ability to think freely, untethered from any ideology that might hinder your ability to think critically about the world and rationally about the world and come to the proper conclusion about the world. I mean, that is what makes secularism so powerful. You're not tethered to God or any religion or any book telling you what to do or what to believe. You're thinking freely, and that leads to a better world. I mean, look at what the Bible does to people. It makes them do silly things, makes them say, oh, these LGBT, they're bad, bad. Everything's bad, everything's demonic, everything's evil. It muddies the mind, and it stops you from thinking freely. And that's something that I would never trade for God.
Okay. So it's your opinion that you're atheist. Like,
I don't believe in God. Yes, I don't believe.
So do you think that's a fact or an opinion? I'm just curious.
It's not a belief. It's a lack of belief. I don't believe in God. I don't know if there's a God. I don't even know what God is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being kind. Jesus loves me. Well, does he love the people in Gaza? Does he love them enough to help them? Why doesn't he help the kids who are starving and dying? I don't want his love. I rather exchange his love for me for help for other people who need the help. Why doesn't God help people who need it the most?
Hello?
Hi.
Hello. Why should I become vegan?
Yeah, we're not doing vegan lives. I know you guys see me and you guys know I'm the vegan guy, but we're doing God debates today. Come back tomorrow or the next day for vegan debates. If you love animals, you should be vegan.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hey. Just have one question, and it's how do you believe the earth was made as an atheist? What do you believe
It
in?
wasn't made by somebody. There
No,
were
not made by something. Like, how did it what was the creation? What do you believe the creation of earth was?
the Earth is a rock. So were all the other planets either balls of rock or balls of gas.
Yes.
And we know through geology, through cosmology, there is a series of events that took place before the Earth. It's a smaller fragments of metals and ices clumped together in space, got larger and larger. The gravitational field gathered more, attracted more of these things together and together. They became larger and larger balls of stuff. And that's what the Earth is. It's a ball of stuff. And we happen to be on top of it. Through another series of electrochemical processes, chemical processes that we call life. And the evidence is overwhelming for these things. It's called science. We have lots of evidence for it. There's no evidence of a God, though.
That's okay, yeah. So, but you think all of that was just made out of nowhere? Like, there is no creator behind that. Everything was so perfectly made that we have air and everything else that we need to be here, and no creator was behind that. That's what you think. Everything is just perfect.
Well, if you think it's perfect, why do people get asthma? Why do people get cancer from the sun, right? As much as you think everything's perfect, there's a lot of things about our configuration that isn't perfect. I mean, the fact that the sun can cause cancer, the fact that we live in this ecosystem that demands survival of the fittest. If you're not fit for the environment, you die and you go extinct. Most species that have ever existed are now extinct, dead, never coming back. I mean, that tells you a lot about the nature of the Earth, the biosphere. It wants to kill you every chance it gets. So it's not that we were placed here by somebody perfectly, but in my eyes and in the eyes of most scientists, we adapted to the Earth over time. We adapted to the Earth and the conditions sufficiently enough to continue and reproduce. And that's exactly what we see. What we see is what we would expect under a naturalistic world where beings are fit for their environments just enough to reproduce, and a lot of them die. There's specific parameters in which we exist within. And anything beyond those parameters, we die. That's exactly what we see, and exactly what we wouldn't see if there was a being who placed us perfectly here, and everything was perfectly designed to be this way. I don't think that's likely at all in my eyes.
Yeah, when I say perfectly, obviously you're taking it too literally. But what I mean is that we are here. Obviously, there's people with asthma, people who die with natural causes. And that, to me, is God choosing to limit what he wants, because he could either, or that's like an example, me going up to somebody, I could either do good or bad to them. And that's how God made it, because I could do either or. So the things happening that to people that are bad, there are also miracles that are happening to other people that get cured of any other disease or whatever they may have. That's not a coincidence to me.
You're saying there has to be evil?
No, it's that you could do either good or bad. There's people who that have bad things done to them and that have good. So
Okay.
it's not evil
Steve,
or
the issue is that you believe in a loving God, right? Do you think God is all good?
yes.
Okay, if God is all good, he doesn't have the capacity to bring about evil.
That's not him bringing about evil. That's not what that's not, you don't
Why
understand
would
what I'm
humans do
saying.
evil if we are good?
He gave, he gave everyone the choice to do evil or bad.
Okay, so you're saying we have free will, therefore
You have free
evil
will because
exists.
God obviously isn't right next to you. That's why there is a heaven or hell.
All right,
He
Steve,
at the day.
let me go through this
Oh,
line
no,
of reasoning
let
here.
me finish this real quick. Let me finish real quick. He could, right? You could do evil or bad. That's not him telling you do evil behind your ear. That's not what he's saying to you. But if you're gonna do evil, there's gonna come a day, judgment day, that we believe in, that if he goes back and looks in your life and you did evil, you are gonna be placed in hell. And if you did good and you followed the will of God, and
Okay, I don't care about your preaching. I really don't care.
that's what
Go
he
back to
did.
this line of reasoning.
Exactly.
Hold on, sir. I don't care about your preaching.
No, that's my point, and you're not understanding the point.
Your point is bad. My point is showing you why good must exist and evil can't exist if God is all good. You're saying we have free will when he gives the choice to do good and bad. The issue is God could have made a world where there's people who have free will, but those people with free will do all good. They don't do bad because they have good natures such that they never choose the evil. That's what, and that to me is what you think God is, right? Do you think God has free will?
What happened? What was the question you said?
Do you think God has free will?
That's not up to me to decide that. He
So
gives
then how do you know anybody has free will? I mean, how do you know?
what? Because you could do what you want. That. What are you trying to ask me? Anybody?
Can God do what he wants?
I don't know that. God could do anything.
So God might just be a robot?
God could do whatever he wants. I don't get what you're trying to get
So
from me.
he can do what he wants.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, great. Does God ever do evil?
No. Why would he?
Okay. So God has free will, yet never does evil, right?
Whatever you say.
No, now you're being dishonest.
No, it's not being. I don't know what you're trying to. You're
Do you
trying to
agree
lead
with
me
me
into
that God
something.
has free will and always does good?
Yes.
Okay. So why couldn't God produce a world where every person has free will, but also does only good things? Why couldn't God do that world? Why did he make a world where people do evil?
That's not. If you're interested in me talking about, because you call it preaching, if you're interested about me talking about it, he made it where it was good. Everything was good. And
Okay,
then
so then why is there evil? Then evil shouldn't exist at all.
you're not listening. It was two people, because you're not going to get it. You're atheist. Two people, one did bad, and then he got angry at the person doing
They
bad.
wouldn't do bad in the first place if they were good from the get-go, just like God, right?
The person did bad. He didn't design.
Steve, let me try again with you. Adam and Eve, were they perfect? Were they perfect?
No, God did not make them to be. God,
Okay, so then God made them flawed human beings.
That's
Right.
not flawed human beings. No, because that's not how it works. He just made human beings. It didn't say that in the Bible that they're flawed or
Okay,
they
were they
were
perfect human beings? Or were they flawed human
in the
beings?
Bible. So I can't say that because it doesn't say that in the Bible.
Steve, did God make the Adam and Eve perfect humans or imperfect humans?
I can't answer. I don't have the answer to that.
Okay. So then this is why you can't use the free will defense, because God could have produced a world where everybody has free will yet does good. Evil is unnecessary. You have yet to explain why evil exists. We would not expect evil if God is all good.
It isn't God. You're acting like it's every evil coming behind God. There's a devil. It's not God.
Why doesn't God get rid of the devil?
That's not up to him. There's a reason, because there's a devil, there's a hell and a heaven. He doesn't get rid of the devil. He got rid of him as an angel, but he doesn't want to get rid of him.
God wants the devil.
He got rid of the devil from being an angel, so clearly he doesn't want the devil.
Okay, so why does this devil still exist? Why doesn't God just kill him?
That's not what God does.
God wants evil. He desires evil beings. He doesn't want to get rid of evil.
And here I go back to the point every time. If you're gonna do evil as a person, you're gonna get sent to hell on Judgment Day. So that's
Okay. But the problem is, why doesn't God get rid of all the evil from the first place? Why does he allow it to exist and persist? Why does he allow volcanoes to kill people? Why does he allow tsunamis to kill innocent people?
I already explained that. Because you could either do good or bad in the world. That's not him. That's not up to him.
But we're not talking about free will in this situation, even regardless. The point is that there are evil things that are gratuitous. In other words, they seem unnecessary. They seem excessive evils that aren't required, right? Like why does God allow children to starve to death? In Gaza, why did God allow that?
I already explained that. It's about how he allowed people to do good or bad.
I know, but why does he allow evil to persist? Why can't he just get rid of it? There wouldn't be evil if God is all good.
You're just not getting it. I can't really say much else. You're just not getting it.
All right. That's another reason why I think evil is a good reason why God doesn't exist. I mean, there's no reason for evil. What's the reason, logically, for evil to exist? It doesn't make sense. Free will doesn't explain it. God has free will, but never does evil. Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Kind of wanted to get on just to kind of have a conversation, I guess. Before kind of getting into it, have you ever been religious or have followed a religion or anything like that before?
Yeah. So do you have an argument for God or?
Well, I would like to know if you've ever, have been a Catholic, Christian, or Muslim or anything like that beforehand.
Yes, I was a Christian. Do you have arguments for God now?
Okay. What is the main reason why you don't believe in him?
There's no evidence. Do you have any?
I think there's a lot of evidence. One being, if you want to kind of leave the, I guess, religious and faith aspect out of it, there's a lot of historical evidence for Jesus, not just obviously the accounts that are taken in the Bible, but accounts written by other thousands of accounts written by Roman historians, and translated in Greek and other languages, in African and in a lot of languages in Africa, a lot of things like that. So there's historical evidence of Jesus being, existing. So that's one thing.
I don't care about some guy on a stick. I care about God, right? What's your evidence for God, not some dead guy?
Well, Jesus proclaimed to be God when he was on this earth.
Well, so did Charles Manson, right? I don't care about somebody claiming to be God. I care about the evidence for God.
Yeah, but there's the whole purpose of at least something that's nearby, like historical evidence here, is it's important because it happened 2,000 years ago, and it's not into, like, there's multitude of accounts for it, just in the Christian and Muslim and Judaism. They all have accounts for this one guy. That can't just be a coincidence, correct?
Well,
For this
I can grant you that there are accounts for this guy's existence, but that still doesn't show me that he rose from the dead like a zombie, right? And walked on water, and gave bread to people with a wave of his wand. I mean, that's the magical claims is something that I want evidence for. not
The magical.
guy existing. I can grant you a guy. I want the God.
Oh, okay, I see. So, well, Jesus is God, so that's one thing. You're asking
That's a
me
claim. That's a
for.
claim. That's a very big claim you're making. Demonstrate that claim, please.
Yeah. Um, that's one evidence for it. I mean,
No,
that's
that's not evidence. The claims are not evidence, right? They're just a claim. Support that claim.
well, there's love. There's love too. You were mentioning something about why there's evil that persists in the world. How somebody that loves us would allow evil for to persist. And honestly, that's a really good claim, because I was listening to your conversation earlier. It's kind of one of the difficult ones to kind of explain, because it is true. How is somebody like your father, or how in the book it's written that he's our father? How does he let things like death and sickness and the
Okay.
terrible things that happen throughout the world happen? I completely get it.
Isaac, are you saying love is evidence of God?
Yes.
Okay.
The fact that we're able to love other people is evidence of God itself. Otherwise,
It's not evidence of God, because we have alternative explanations for love, right? We have
So,
natural explanations. Love is just a chemical process in the brain when we can explain that naturally. Hence, it's not evidence in the favor of God over another hypothesis, right?
so
That's
when
why,
you have
that doesn't work as evidence.
when you have a girlfriend, or when you have kids or anything like that, you think the feelings that we have for them are just chemical reactions?
Everything you feel and think are chemical reactions. Yes.
Okay. I would like to believe that there's a lot more going behind that, especially since you feel a lot for people, especially when they die, and how much sentimental value they mean to you, that you would just think that those are just chemical reactions happening.
Well,
they're-
look, Isaac. I know you want to intuitively reduce chemical reactions as it's just something to dismiss. It's all just fizz and reactions. But the problem is you're forgetting the nuance here. I mean, it's not just a reaction like you do in a first grade science class. We're talking about systems,
Of course.
networks of reactions.
Of
We're
course.
talking about very elaborate cascades of certain sequences of reactions. It's not just one reaction, right? So the complexity is still intact. It just, for some reason you want to intuitively reduce it to something that's not complicated. It is complicated, but you don't.
It is
need
very
God
complicated.
but you don't need God to explain the complexity, and that's the point you're missing. Right? Nature itself explains love and all of its complexity.
Well, that's why exactly you're saying it's complex. If it's complex, don't you think it has to do something more with just science?
Nope. Science explains all the complexity and everything else very well.
I mean, a lot of stuff, like how the Earth began or how the universe began, like you said, they're just theories, they're stories. You're like,
the Big Bang is not just a story or just a theory. The Big Bang happened.
It's literally called the Big Bang Theory.
What do you think a scientific theory means?
It's something that they go through and try to explain it using, trying to gather evidence and come to a conclusion. It's the same thing could be said for the same.
Scientific theories are better than facts because they explain the facts. Scientific theories include facts and laws, and there's tons of evidence behind them. Now, the Big Bang Theory, although it's called a theory, it is observable in many ways. There are facts behind it. The CB radiation. We have the different types of ratios, abundance of elements in the universe. That's evidence of the Big Bang. You can see it. Okay. There's no evidence of God, though. God's not even a theory. God's not even a hypothesis. God is just a word.
The biggest miracle in existence of God. I mean, I know you don't want to believe that the man that came through in God form is an evidence. I know you won't accept that. It does happen to be, for me, it is one piece of evidence that to believe that one man was able to create a whole religion based off of what he said and his teachings
This applies to Hercules and all the Roman gods and all the Greek gods. I mean, they're written by one person. They're based on one person. Many of them. There's no reason why Jesus has to be God just because you feel like it. Feelings
It's
aren't good
it's
evidence.
it's historical evidence, and all those
No. You keep saying
religion, all those religion.
you keep saying historical evidence, but I'm sorry, there is no historical evidence for God. You have a storybook for children. I'm sorry, Isaac, but your book of fables is mythology. It's not
You're
based on
right.
any reality. I mean, talking snakes,
There's
talking donkeys, Noah's Ark, that never happened.
You're right. I wouldn't be able to explain God. The biggest miracle that happened was him walking on
I don't
earth.
want you to explain God. I want you to give evidence for it. You're not doing any of that.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with faith, and I'll give you that.
Okay,
And
well,
obviously, a lot of it has to do with that
if you have
anecdotal.
faith in God, then I have faith that God doesn't exist. Now I win because I have faith in God and know God. That means I win? No. Faith is unreliable. It's an unreliable pathway to truth.
Well, exactly. You're saying that means you're saying you have faith in something. If you're saying that you have faith in that there's no God, that means you have faith in something. What do you have faith in?
I don't have faith in anything. I have faith in nothing.
What morals? How do you explain moral values? I mean, if you're getting it from something, you're getting moral values from something. It can't just be
my brain.
Nothing.
My brain, and the consequences to the actions that we perceive. That's how we get.
But who makes those consequences? What makes murdering right or wrong?
What makes it wrong is the fact that we don't prefer it in our society. It harms others. That's why we think it's wrong.
Exactly. Why does our society make it that way, though?
Because we evolved to be creatures who don't like to be harmed or in pain. We just are, guided by our physiology, which most of the time grounds what we think is right or wrong. You don't need God to know that murder is wrong. I don't need to read the Bible to know that.
Obviously, you don't need to know it, but there was a somebody that decided it was wrong. Same thing, just like if you heard a friend's.
No one person decided the laws of morality. It's each and every one of us who decides what is right or wrong. Collectively, though, we come to conclusions about what we ought to do in our society.
Of course, but
morality is intrinsic to all people in a way because we have brains that think certain ways. We have amygdalas, we have the prefrontal cortex making decisions. All this together gives rise to ethics.
Of course. I mean, there's got to be something that started it. Just the same way that you could hurt like a friend's feelings by saying something bad to them. There's got to be something a start to these values that we have. These things just didn't come from us. There had to be some type of guide.
That's just a question-begging argument. Oh, there has to be something. Why? Well, what's the reasoning for behind it? I don't think there has to be somebody making the laws. I think it's just us thinking about what we don't like and what we do like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Isaac. Appreciate you. All right, come up if you think God is real. Let's hear your evidence.
Hello?
Hi, are you driving?
I am driving, sorry.
Please focus on the road. That's so dangerous. Hello?
Hello. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I be hearing you don't believe in God because there's no evidence. Am I right?
Yeah. Do you have any?
So I don't have evidence, but I can tell you why. Like, there hasn't been like straight up evidence, like in person. So like, if Jesus or Muhammad were like, "Hi guys, I'm right here," then why? Like, what's the point of creating Earth? Everybody's gonna believe them, and then he may as well, like, everyone may as well just go to heaven already. So like, what's the point of? Like, and that's the reason why we have like the devil.
So what you're saying is the reason why they exist is because if they show themselves, we'd all know they exist. Correct?
Yeah, correct. Okay. And that's why we have the devil, for example. Okay. Because we have the devil.
The problem, do you see a problem with this? I can use the same argument for any magical man I want. Oh, unicorns exist. but they don't show themselves because they want to hide their existence. If they show themselves, the unicorns, we don't know they were real. That's why they hide, right? Or leprechauns, or Bigfoot, or aliens, or the Tooth Fairy, or any kind of magical man. It's unfalsifiable. You can't test this idea. It's just something and it seems like you made it up on a whim. Oh yeah, they're hiding themselves. Believe me, they're hiding. That seems a bit ad hoc.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I mean, I don't know too much about unicorns, but I doubt they were something that were created back in like the 14th century, back in like beginning like Judaic times,
Just like your
Islamic
God,
times.
just like your belief in Islam.
Yeah, but I think, but like the belief in Islam and Muhammad and the Jesus, like all the eyewitnesses, those were like many years back. I don't think unicorns was like isn't unicorns like like relatively new thing?
Nope, they were here for thousands of years, before even the Bible, before even the Quran. Now, do you have evidence for God before I kick you?
I mean, like I said, there's no like direct evidence, but I can like explain like why it would be a good idea.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Get the next guy.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah. How are you?
Good.
Okay. Okay, so I was thinking about, sorry I'm eating, but I was thinking about coming on here maybe being like devil's advocate or something, but
Nah, I'm good. Thank you, though.
okay.
Yo, what's up?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, so I could give you two different arguments. I'll start with this one since I'm kind of newer to it. So let me give you the syllogism. Do you think the past is infinite?
Yeah.
All right, here's the syllogism. If the past is infinite, then contradictions are possible. Contradictions are not possible, therefore the past is not infinite.
How did you substantiate premise 2?
Contradictions are not possible?
I mean, number 1.
Would you like an example?
Yeah.
All right. So consider a scenario. I have this written down. That's why it sounds like I'm reading off a script. All right. Consider a scenario where an infinite number of immortal people have always existed. Each year they perform a task involving passing a piece of paper into the future. Each person is named after a natural number. So Mr. 0, Mr. 1, Mr. 2, and on and on. So here are the rules. Each person receives a paper from the person to their left. If the paper is blank, they write their name on it, whatever number they have. If the paper already has a name on it, they pass it to the right without altering it. So here's the contradiction. Imagine if Mr. 0 receives a paper from Mr. Infinity. If Mr. 0 receives a paper that is blank, he writes his name on it. As a paper continues to be passed to the right, each person adds their name if the paper is blank. However, if Mr. 0 paper arrives back at him, it would already contain all the people who have had the paper before him, making it impossible for him to see a blank paper.
Okay. So, first of all, this entire thing assumes that there's something called Mr. Infinity. There is no infinite number, right? It's not a number. Infinity is a concept that applies to numbers, but it's not a number in itself.
Well, infinite past could make this possible, correct?
No, there would be no end to it. There would be no Mr. Infinity. This is the first of your problems. The bigger problem is that it assumes something called the A theory of time, the A series, in that there is this tensed version of time that you can pass a paper, and that implies that there's a passage of time from one state of time to the next. That doesn't
necessarily apply.
That's not true necessarily. In my view, time isn't tensed. Time is tenseless, and all of time, there's no passing of time, right? All of time already exists. So just like all of space can be infinite, so can all of time. It can be infinite, and there's no passing through time. There's no traversing through time. That's nonsense.
Well, that wasn't my argument that they're passing through time.
Well, it is. That is your argument. It hinges on this notion that time passes. Because if time passes, then it would get to infinite time. But that's not.
Can you not pass paper without time?
Passing paper requires time, but it doesn't mean that time itself is passing from one state to the next. Time can be like space. It's hard to imagine, but like space, like a block, for example, a cube. Do you think all the coordinates in a cube exist simultaneously?
Yeah, probably.
Right. So all of space exists at one time. Now imagine that space, instead of space, you call it time. And the entire universe is four-dimensionally, 3 dimensions of space and 1 in time, such that there's a block. There's a block of space-time. In that sense, all of time already exists simultaneously, and there's no traversing, there's no passing of time. All the time already exists. It's all real. So all the misters already exist. There is no traversing through time to get to the different misters. Right? That's something that we do perceptually, but in reality, all of time, every coordinate of time exists right now.
Okay, well, it's a new argument I was thinking of using. I'll just use the argument that I usually use, though. So my problem with the atheistic worldview is it can't provide justification for like knowledge claims.
Oh, so you're saying it's impossible to justify knowledge?
Yeah, because the atheistic worldview, by saying the world is teleological, you're forfeiting any justification.
Yeah, so can you give the contradiction that would render atheism impossible to ground knowledge through?
Right, because when you assert that the world is teleological, a justification is impossible to give.
That's question begging. Can you give the contradiction?
So if you say there's no meaning in the world, which I assume you hold to, right? Do you hold to that?
What?
That the universe doesn't have a purpose?
It does, but not intrinsically.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Can you get to the contradiction now? It seems like you're so quick to say there's a contradiction in my view. Go ahead, show the contradiction. Show how it's impossible.
Right. The contradiction is within the worldview itself, because if you already assert that there's actually no intention or purpose behind anything, then you forfeit any epistemological justification.
That's another assertion. You're just stacking assertion upon assertion upon assertion. I'm asking for you to demonstrate that it is impossible, which implies a P and not P, which implies that there must be a contradiction. Go ahead, give the contradiction. Give the P and not P that renders atheism impossible.
You already forfeit any justification for
It's another assertion. You just keep making claim upon claim upon claim. Look, like I could say the same to you, right? It's impossible for Christians to ground knowledge.
Right, but I could actually give a justification for that.
Well, so can I. I can just say the brain, or I could just say physical processes.
Well, that would just be circular.
Okay. So was saying God, right? What justifies knowledge?
Well,
God. What justifies God?
Well, the problem
God,
isn't necessarily circular.
It's going to be circular on your side too. You
The
can't
problem
escape
isn't-
circularity.
yeah. Every single worldview has circularity to it.
Right.
correct?
So what's the issue with mine? What's
right,
the
but-
problem with my? What's my problem with atheism that theism does that I cannot?
Right. The problem with the atheistic worldview and why its circularity is a problem is because to even come to that worldview, right, you have to use these axioms. But if your worldview can't provide justification for these axioms, how can you know that it's right?
The same applies to you. How do you know that God is right?
That's not my argument. Isn't that there isn't circularity? My argument is that.
Okay, great. So then your idea, your hypothesis of the world succumbs to the same circularity as mine. Yours is no better than mine.
It-
I presuppose some axioms. So do you.
but you have to
problem?
you have to use that axioms to even discern your worldview, which can't
The
even
same
give
with yours.
justification for the
You assume
axioms.
God. You assume God.
Right,
For no
but
reason.
God could give justification for the axioms. Your worldview can't.
Prove that God can justify the axioms. You don't.
Right,
You haven't
it
demonstrated
would
God in
be
the first
grounded
place.
in his mind.
So how do you prove that?
Again, my problem isn't circularity. My problem is the
How
way
do you
you
justify God's mind is correct? How do you know God's mind is correct? How do you know you can trust God's mind?
that again, my problem isn't circularity. My problem is that you use axioms, correct, to discern a certain
So
worldview.
do you use axioms? You
Yeah,
understand
but
that you're
in my
using
worldview,
axioms.
the axioms can be justified, but in your worldview,
Then
they can't
justify
be.
the axiom that God's mind is trustable.
That's not an axiom.
Well, in order to assume God's mind works, you have to assume it's trustable, right?
The definition of God, right, would be that he's omnibenevolent. So
Yeah, that's a precept axiom you're making, right? You're just
well, that's just
assuming
the
God's
definition of
omnipotent.
God.
Justify that God's omniscient.
That would just be the definition of God itself.
Okay, then the definition of atheism is that we can ground knowledge too. The nature is omniscient.
Right, but you forfeit that when you say that.
Our minds are omniscient. We know everything. Therefore, your worldview does nothing that I can't.
Well, your worldview forfeits the possibility of knowledge by saying the world or the universe is distantly illogical.
Show the contradiction.
Right. If you say there's no purpose or intention, right, then you're forfeiting other possible axioms.
Why does the universe need intention for us to know things?
Because if it didn't have intention, then everything would fall apart, right? Because knowledge assumes regularity in
Why
nature.
would it
There's
fall
no
apart?
intention.
You're just assuming that. Why does the universe need intention? That makes no sense to me. We can ground knowledge through our brains, right? When we say knowledge, there is no knowledge beyond our minds, right? We can ground them in our minds. We don't need this transcendental, some kind of universal of knowledge. That's something that comes from our minds. There's no need for what you're assuming as God. There's no need for God.
Right, but that's not my argument. My argument is
Well,
that
it is.
you've already forfeited that.
Your argument is that you need God you need to presuppose God to know anything knowledgeable, right?
Yeah, that would be well.
Okay,
You don't.
so then-
You presuppose
so then
God by
I reject that.
asserting that the
God
contrary is
I
impossible.
reject that because I can offer an atheistic view of knowledge that doesn't need God, such as like the correspondence theory, the deflationary theory of time, in which knowledge is that which describes reality.
Assuming
I don't need God for
reality is
that. I don't need God for that.
another thing you assume.
Yeah, that would just be a presupposition I make. You're also making one about God. We're both in the same boat. And there's nothing. And again,
But the way you even
there's
discern
nothing
your
impossible
worldview is
about
by assuming
atheists.
axioms in your worldview.
What?
To even discern your worldview, you assume axioms that your worldview can't give a justification for.
I just did. I justified the fact of knowledge through our brains, through physical processes.
Right, but that's a circular argument.
Okay, why is it circular? Because I'm presupposing the brain works.
Yeah, you're presupposing reality.
So you're presupposing the reality of God.
Right, but that presupposition has
We're in the same
justification because the contrary doesn't give.
Justify your view that God's mind is trustable. You haven't done it yet. You're just presupposing that.
Right, but it's a presupposition and proving the contrary false.
How is it false? How is my view false? You haven't shown that it's impossible yet. You're just
Because
asserting
to even get to your worldview, it's impossible because you use axioms to discern a worldview, but yet your worldview can't provide axioms or justification for axioms.
Yes, it can. I do provide axioms. They're just definitional statements we're making about reality. Those are purely grounded and justified through how the brain works. If you're going to ask, how do you know the brain works, or how do you know that the world is physical? Well, that's a different claim. And yes, I do presuppose that the universe is physical, but so do you. You in a different way. You presuppose that God is real, which is like a physicalist view, like in the inverse of that, right? So the point is that we're both making presupps here. You're just presupposing God. I'm just presupposing physicalism. I don't see a reason why yours is better.
Right, but to assert physicalism is real, you already have to presuppose things you'd use to discern that worldview.
So just like you do with God, you already presuppose logic works to get to God.
Right, but the difference is God can give justifications for these things.
How?
It would be grounded in the mind of God.
Okay, so you're going to ground it in God's mind, even though you're presupposing that, right? That you're presupposing God's mind, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. So I just presuppose nature. There you go. We're both making presuppositions on the same
couldn't
boat.
give a justification.
You didn't give a justification for God's mind.
The justification would be that the contrary can't give a necessary justification.
Show that it's impossible. You haven't shown that physicalism is impossible yet. Show it.
Because physicalism. Can you hear me?
Yeah, give the contradiction in physicalism. I'd love to do this.
Because physicalism, right, in the definition of the worldview, can't give justification.
That's not a contradict. Do you know what a contradiction is?
Yeah, P and not P.
Yeah, give the P and not P in which physicalism is rendered impossible.
Physicalism would be impossible because to even get to that worldview, you have to use axioms that don't have justifications.
Why do you not know how to give a contradiction? You have to give the P and not P. You have to give the position that I'm affirming and negating at the same time. Can you provide that contradiction in physicalism? You're just asserting things over and over again. Give the contradiction.
I've said it multiple times, but you're just.
What's the P and not P? What's the P and not P?
Well, I would also like to add, right? There's not an infinite
You're just
regress.
dodging.
There's not
I'll give you one more chance. Give the P and not P in physicalism. Go.
Because physicalism already forfeits intentionality or purpose.
It's not a P and not P. Right, that's another assertion you're making, and that's why presuppositional apologetics is nonsense. You're just asserting things. It's question begging, right? You're just asserting that I can't ground these things when we're both making presuppositions. I'll grant you that, but to say it's impossible for an atheist to hold my particular view, that implies that there's a contradiction, and you haven't given it. Hello?
Hello. I want, before we get to the discussion, I want to ask you, so you're agnostic or like you're atheist?
It doesn't matter. I'm an atheist. Do you have an argument for God?
Yes. The first thing is, if there is no God, then who created this whole universe, this existence? Who created us? Who created you? Who created me?
Why must there be a creator? Why can't the universe come about naturally?
That doesn't make sense. 0 plus 0 cannot be equal 1. You can't. There has to be a creator.
That's not my position. That's a straw man. Look, I'm asking you, why is it impossible that the universe came about naturally? Why must there be a creator?
Well, it's it's impossible. The way how everything needs to, the way how this system is perfect, the way how the universe is perfect, there has to be like a great creator.
So you're saying the universe is perfect.
Exactly like how.
Okay, what's a universe that's not perfect look like?
Like the moon will crash and like the earth would explode. We're sitting on lava. The sun will burn us. Come on.
How do you? What makes you think that's imperfect universe versus this universe where lots of explosions happen?
but the point is it's faith. It's faith, and and it's I just listened to you argue with the guy before you. You guys were arguing like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But it's a faith, and I've
Okay. I understand you have faith, and that's great, but it
yeah.
doesn't do anything for your position, right? Because just as you have faith in God, I can have faith in no God, and we're both in the same position, right? We're both now back to square one. Which one of
No,
us is correct? How
I
do we
tell
know
you what.
God?
I tell you what. I used to have no faith in God. I used to be agnostic. I used to just live my life. But then it was fucking depressing, man. It's depressing. Like, am I gonna die and be nobody? Like it's just a depressing viewpoint to me. And like, what's the
Yes,
purpose of my life? What's the
I
point of my life? Who
yeah,
created me? These questions,
yeah,
like
those are great questions. Those are great questions,
it's
and there's something about the human body that has this urge to ask these questions. Where do we come from? Who are we? What are we doing here? But
exactly.
I suggest that maybe instead of questioning this all the time and missing out on the world around you, why not just, accept that there might not be a reason why we're here? Why not let that
Oh,
egotistical thing go and realize that maybe all we have is each other? Friends, family, people, the earth, the universe, and
so
yes,
live like an animal.
we'll never know a reason why we're here. We'll never know why we're here. Maybe there is no reason why we're here. I mean, what's God doing there? If God exists, then why does God exist? These questions are very hard to answer. Maybe you don't need God. Maybe things just are, and we have to accept that. You know?
Uh, I just think it's. I think we have a life. We have a long life. I mean, some people die young, some people die old. But I think we gotta search for the truth. We gotta search for it. And
Yes.
you with the point that you just presented to me, this is just like giving up point. This is like, oh, just live your life. Just don't
No,
search.
that's what
Just
what you're doing is giving up and saying there's got to be God. Trust me, trust me. You're ending it when perhaps the answer might be way further away than God than you think it is. Maybe the answer is something completely different than just a man who did it. Maybe the answer to the universe is way more different than what you think it is. And I'm open to that. I'm open to there being a God. I just want evidence for it. And your path of epistemology, your path to the truth, is going to lead you to the only path you're led to is this belief in God. When my epistemology is open to all kinds of solutions and answers, right? So you have the God goggles on. You're only seeing one possible answer. When I see an infinite number of possible answers, and I'm open to learning any of them, you're not. You're closed off. You've given up and said, nope,
the
it's just
truth
God.
cannot
It's
be
just God.
infinite.
It's
The
just God.
truth
That's what you've done.
the truth cannot be infinite. The truth is one, right?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, well, it can be infinite, but what I'm saying is you have closed yourself off to other possibilities. You're closing your ears, shutting your eyes, and saying, nope, it's God, trust me. That's limiting to me.
Look, Mike, I'm interested in the truth. That's all. And I'm a
If
person
you are
who
interested in the truth, then stop pretending God exists and stop being guided by your own
can I tell you
emotions.
something? Can I share something with you?
If you really want the truth, stop being guided by your emotions and accept that the universe doesn't have to appease your emotions, and accept that the answer might be antithetical to your desire about the world. Maybe the universe doesn't give a shit about you or me. And that's what we have to accept and move forward.
Okay, can I share with you my biggest fear in this life? It's death. I'm always thinking about death. And I'm not
Yes,
afraid of death. Honestly, if I'm guaranteed that if I die I would just go to sleep, I would not be afraid. But I'm afraid is like what's after death. That's the point of my thoughts.
okay.
That's the point of
I
my
agree. I
thinking.
agree. You're scared of death, but you're scared of what
Exactly.
happens after. But the
In
problem,
fact, I have a surgery tomorrow, and they're gonna put me under general anesthesia, and I'm really worried that I might not come back. I might come back. I might not.
well,
But
thanks to science, there's a very good likelihood that you will make it. Okay, but furthermore, look, we're all scared of dying. I don't want to die. But to me, these questions, these existential crisis questions, oh, what happens after we die? What if you're wrong about your God? There's a billion other gods that may exist that we all might be wrong about. We're in the same boat, Tafe. We're in the same boat, my friend. You just believe in one more God than me. That's how I see it. So instead of worrying about the afterlife, why not focus on the now life and enjoy what you have? All we know is what we have right now.
Yeah,
And
but
everything else to me is a side thing.
okay, but I'll tell you what, there's religions that tell you like if you don't believe in God, you will go to hell and you will be tortured.
Okay.
And I don't know if you believe in dreams or not, but I just one time I had this crazy dream where I saw my dead grandmother, and I asked her, and she was telling me she was getting tortured. She was not like, she did not believe, but she was telling me she was getting tortured. And I was like, oh my God. I remember waking up and I was like, okay, I will believe in God, I will pray. So I don't know.
Okay, I had a dream last night that my brother had a neck injury or a leg injury. He didn't have one, right? Sometimes
know.
our dreams aren't real. Most of the time, our dreams are real, okay? But yes, I understand your fear. And this is why, another reason why you should be skeptical about the belief that you go to hell. Because look at how appealing it is to succumb to that fear, right? Humans live and make decisions based on fear. We do things that we want to reject. We want to minimize fear, right? And that's why these religions have a good way of controlling us, because they say, oh, if you don't believe in this, you're going to go to hell. And to me, if God is all good, as they say, who in their right mind would send somebody to eternal torture simply for not believing in them? That's not love. That's somebody evil. Right?
Can I
And
give you
that's
a point?
another reason why. I think that these religions are based on fear.
Let me raise a point.
and not
Let me ask you this
reality.
question. Let me ask you this question. Okay, so if there is no God, then why there is good morals? Why don't if I don't believe in God? Honestly, one of the reasons why I started behaving as becoming a good person is because I'm kind of afraid of God. I'm kind of afraid of being judged. You know, the judgment day. That's why I started being a good person and doing decent things. I was a shitty person. I was doing a lot of bad things, you know, because like I didn't care. There was no God. There is no hell. There is no judgment. I was like doing. I mean, I hope there's no FBI watching and shit. But like I was like doing like scams.
Look, if you need God, if you need the belief in God to be a good person, believe in God, please. But the rest of us who have integrity, who have courage,
Why do you have integrity?
We don't need a Bible to be good people. And in fact, leaving religion made me a better person than I ever was, because I'm more tolerant, more understanding of each other, more considerate. And so you might be different than me, but at the end of the day,
you're a good person.
You're
You're a good person, and we thank you for being a great person. But what about like killers? What about people that that murder people and get away with it? Because they don't catch everyone. They don't catch every murder and put it in prison.
These are good concerns. What if people get away with crimes? I'm sorry, but the world is unfair. We have to accept this at some point. We all want there to be good things at the end. We all want our enemies to be killed. We all want our friends to be redeemed. We all want love and peace and happiness. That's something we all want.
Shouldn't there be a punishment for good?
Maybe the world doesn't have to appease to our expectations about what we want. Maybe the world just is, and we're part of it. We're like a roller coaster.
Shouldn't there be a punishment for people like Hitler who killed millions of people?
Yes, there should be a punishment, but there isn't always one. Life is unfair.
Exactly. So I believe there's an afterlife. Do you believe in afterlife?
But look at the reason why you think there's an afterlife. It's not because of something factual, but because of something you want. You want there to be somebody being punished. You want your friends or family to be helped. Those are desires. Those are not facts. That's why your entire religion hinges on fear and reward. Oh, if you believe in me, you get the reward. If you don't, you go to hell. How how controlling, what a coercive type of belief system that keeps you on the edge all the time in fear and reward. It's exploiting the human emotion. And that's why I don't want to partake in that anymore. I think that's toxic.
What is the point of this life then? What is the point of my life?
To live, to love, and to learn. That's it. That's all I can see. If there is a purpose out there beyond that, great. But until that moment, I'm just going to live my life and be the best person I can be.
You don't have to be the best person. You can be like the shittiest person if you want.
You could, but guess what? I desire a world where people help each other because it makes the world better. And I care about people. I care about the world. So that's why I do good things.
I think you believe in karma.
No, I don't care about karma. I want the world to be better off than I left it. I want to make an impact on the world because I can. I have the ability to do, and you do too. All of us have the ability to make the world a better place.
What's the reward for you to being a good person? What's the reward?
I don't need a reward. That's the entire point of ethics. I don't need a reward. I do it because I want to help others. It makes me feel good, sure. You can say it makes me feel good to do that. But it also, there's more to it than just, reward for me to feel good. It's also because I genuinely care about other people. There's just thing great in my body, in my being.
But what you just told me now, you have a faith in something. You have a faith in being a good person. So you have a faith.
No, I don't have faith in anything. I don't believe without
You just
evidence.
told me I believe in making this world a better place for the next generation. This is faith to me.
I believe that we should be doing it. Doesn't mean I know for a fact it will happen.
I tell you something. We humans cannot live without faith. We need faith.
I don't have faith in a single thing, sir.
I don't. You have a faith. Even if you say I don't have faith, I just listen to you. You believe in something. You believe in being a good person. You believe in doing good things.
I believe in things because I believe in being a good person because it typically leads to good results. That's what the evidence says for that belief. I don't believe in anything if there's no evidence behind it. I will not believe it.
I don't know, Mike, but you were not able to convince me that there is no God. I mean, I don't know. This world and this.
There's no way I can utter some words and make you stop believing in God. It takes time.
Yeah.
But hopefully,
I came with an answer. I told you the everything was created by God. You tell me everything was created by accident, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense.
I never said it was made by accident. Now you don't understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the world, although mysterious, seems to be governed by physical laws of nature, and they were not by accident necessarily. They could be. It could be the case. It could be the case that it's chance, but there might be something deeper we still don't understand about the universe. The universe, the more we look at it, it becomes more mysterious. Every time we look at the universe, it becomes way more different than we thought it was. That's
so
you're science.
You're agnostic then. You're agnostic. I'm assuming.
Call me agnostic, call me atheist, call me, I don't care what you call me.
Okay.
Somebody cares
Mike,
about
I was like you. Mike, I was like you, and I'm lost in my thought. I want the answer.
You were never like me, sir.
I want the answer. I cannot live like this. I cannot live.
If you want the answer, then be honest with yourself and stop pretending you have the answer. Start accepting what you don't know. There's a lot more you don't know than you do know, sir. So stop pretending as if, you need faith or, God must exist. That's your ego talking. You're not listening to the evidence. You're not guided by evidence. You're not disciplined. You're just, it feels good, therefore I believe it. That's not how we do science.
Science cannot answer who created this world.
Maybe there is no answer to who created. Maybe there is no creator. That's the problem. You keep forgetting. Maybe you're asking the wrong questions.
I don't know. Okay. Well, I think we reached that point, honestly. But thank you so much. It was a great conversation with you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's why I do these lives, because people have these kinds of questions, and they are something we don't have answers to yet. There's a way. There's a method that can kind of evaporate all those different concerns. I'm not concerned about an afterlife. I never wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, what happens after I die?" I don't think about that because I'm so focused and disciplined on the now life. I don't care about an after. And look, guys, if there is an afterlife, great. But at least I did the best I could in this life, the only one we know we have. We are fragile existences. We're tiny humans on a tiny pale blue dot. As far as we can see, we're the only planet with humans on it. You can travel across the universe, you'll never find another human. Maybe other aliens, but not humans. All we have is each other. It's a very big universe out there, right? It doesn't make sense to get stuck in these questions. Oh, what happens after we die? Oh no, what if God's real? Life is so small and so quick. You know, we got to cherish it more and stop pretending as if there's got to be something else out there that's better. Maybe this is the best. So let's make it the best. If you don't think it's the best, make it the best. Instead of crying about it, make it better. You know, we all want purpose. So what's our purpose? Why are we here? Go do something purposeful. Don't wait for it to get to you. Do something about it. Right? Why are we here? What's the purpose? Figure it out. Go learn something. Go do science. That's the best way to do it. Don't run like a chicken with its head cut off, right? You just, whoa, what do we do? What do we do? Get collected and follow a method of science. Become disciplined and you'll answer the question. Don't, run around with your head cut off like a chicken. Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, I was following up on what your previous caller was saying, and I can see how people just get stuck in wanting to know that there's something there. There's, the universe is so incredibly big. You ever follow Brian Greene or Brian Cox? And I followed them for a couple decades here and talking about string theory and how there could be an inflationary universe that kind of bubbles on itself and it grows and grows in essence to infinity, beyond infinity. And, if that's really the case, which it's kind of leaning that way, you start talking to more and more of these physicists, you start seeing that they can't find any edge, and looking at all the possibilities out there, you do have to live with just what you have. We might be just, quantum, fields that are living in this physically, this
right.
physics of this universe,
Before we get people confused, let's just realize that it takes step by step to learn these things, right? Just increase your knowledge every day. The universe is mysterious but exciting. I mean, there's all kinds of awesome things out there. Black holes and relativity and quantum foam and some amazing stuff. Go learn it. Take it step by step and learn these things.
Good evening. Could you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm an experimental philosopher. I'm a systems theorist. I have argument ending categorical proof that God exists. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah. What do you mean by God first? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to walk you through this. So I'm going to put this on so you can see, and we're going to go through this step by step so you can explain it, because this is my analytic proof so that you can see it. With the empirical evidence, we're on ChatGPT because I have it forensically proved, and I'm also proving it here for you. So premise number one is, if omniscience is necessarily identical with the intellectual structure of all logically possible worlds, true a priori, then God exists necessarily self-identical with the intellectual structure of all logically possible worlds. And here is the analytic proposition of it, proving it necessarily true a priori, that premise is impossible to be self-contradictory.
What do you mean by omniscience? What do you mean by omniscience?
Omniscience means all conceivable knowledge true a priori with no opposite and no symmetry breaker. Now, number two is that premise number two.
All possible knowledge?
All possible knowledge without symmetry breaker, impossible to distinguish.
This assumes that there is something as all possible knowledge.
So
what
all
if knowledge
possible.
is infinite?
So excuse
what
me.
if knowledge never stops? What if it's infinite?
That's exactly what omniscience is, literally.
Okay, how does that being that's omniscient know that it's omniscient?
So if it's omniscient, then by definition, its omniscience includes self-referentiality, which means self-consistency, which means in order for omniscience to be self-consistent, its own omniscience must be omniscient to its own omniscience, and to deny that would be a violation of the law of identity. So
Right,
your question contradicts and falsifies itself. So excuse me, I'm going to present the argument. No, it's a red herring when you interrupt an argument. It's a logical fallacy.
It's not a red herring.
A red herring
I'm asking definition, sir. Because when you say that God knows he exists, or knows self-referential things, how is it possible to know that you know all things? I don't see how it's possible for something like a brain in a vat, for example, to know it's in a brain in a vat or not. How does it know? That's the question here. It assumes that you'd have to have something beyond, you have to know something beyond yourself.
The question is a contradiction in terms, because how is something that occurs in space and time as a process. That implies that God must be a process in space and time. So your question contradicts and falsifies itself. So
No,
let me go back to
what I'm saying is that being would have to be outside of itself.
Excuse me, I have an argument which is right here. So you either want me to finish it, or I'm going to allow you to attack it. I'm going to allow you to attack it.
Sacred, please. You're yapping right now. Hold on.
So no, you're not understanding the argument. I'm going to allow you to attack the argument. Let me make the syllogism. If omniscience is necessarily identical with the intellectual structure of all logically possible worldviews, true a priori, then God necessarily exists necessarily self-identical with the intellectual structure of all logically possible worlds.
Okay,
Premise
now,
two.
how does this
Now,
being-
excuse me,
how does
red
this
herring.
being
Excuse
know-
me. No, you have to allow me to finish my argument before
No,
you
I
attack
don't.
it.
I don't. You're on my live.
Just
Please stop. This is important. How do you know? How does God know it's omniscient if it can't be outside of itself to know it knows all things?
The question is irrelevant. Here's why. It has no bearing on whether or not the propositions in here are necessarily true. So it's a red herring. It has no bearing. It's irrelevant. All that needs to be
But then
known.
it doesn't know all things because it doesn't know if it's correct. in
That's
knowing that it knows all
an
things.
assumption of a premise that's not in the argument. So I have to present the argument. Your questions contradict themselves. So please allow me to make the argument. I know you don't want me to make it, but allow me to make it. So we're going to go back to premise one. It's going to take me literally 30 seconds to finish the argument. I know you don't want me to make that, but we're going to do that. If omniscience is necessarily identical with the intellectual structure of all logically possible worldviews, true a priori, then God exists necessarily self-identical with the intellectual structure of all logically possible worlds. Premise two. The intellectual structure of all.
You haven't defined God yet.
I'm defining it in premise two. I'm defining
God in your premise, but you have not just defined God properly.
I've already defined God. I've already defined God
What
as
is God?
the intellectual structure of all logically possible worlds.
The intellectual structure? What do you mean by intellectual structure?
The intellectual structure of all logically possible worlds is that God
What is intellectual structure? What does that mean?
It is the format of mathematics itself.
Oh, okay. So you think God is math?
Exactly. And I can prove it. And this is exactly what this proves. This is exact. Is math a language? Yes or no?
Have a good day, sir.
Okay, you lose.
See, that's why definitions are important. if you think math is God, of course God exists, right? If you think God is my booger, well then of course God exists. You're just defining something that already exists as God. It's just a label. All right, let's get the next victim.
So I have a question. So can you tell me of how God is imaginary?
Well, when I say God's imaginary, I'm saying like it's likely not real. And the reason why is because we see lots of evil in the world. We don't see God existing at all. Divine hiddenness is an issue for God. There's a giant lack of evidence for God. So yeah, that's why I don't believe.
I mean, but like, there's like a lot of stories and people who get cancer and they get healed because of the fact they start believing in God. You know, like that type of stuff happens. But it's like you don't see that often. But just because you don't see it happening doesn't mean it's not happening. You know.
Look, I agree that there are so-called rare events in which people's cancer goes away or goes into remission. But there are documented cases where there's something called spontaneous remission. There's a natural pathway that would explain why people's cancers go away. Your immune system attacks it, by the way, through T cells. So it's possible for those things to be explained naturally. And that's why I'm not just going to say, yeah, it's a miracle or it's not by God. I'm going to ask more questions before we say God did it.
Right.
Okay. So that's why that's not good evidence for God.
I mean, I'm not saying like that's the evidence, but like, I mean, it's a good like saying like he does exist, though. I mean, that is a good way of how to say it. Because like, if he didn't
I'm not
exist,
saying God doesn't exist necessarily. I'm just saying it's likely not real. When I say God's imaginary, that's what it really means. Yeah. So do you have any evidence of God or not?
I mean, I just wanted to ask you what you meant.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean. So, see the next victim in here.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, so on your point that you say God is imaginary, could you clarify like on what premises that is? Like what exactly proves that he's not imaginary?
Well, I'm not saying I can prove God doesn't exist, but I have evidence for against existence through like divine hiddenness, the problem of evil, the omniparadoxes. Like I can go through arguments against God, but I'm just looking for evidence for God.
Okay, so there is historical evidence, unless you think that is not true, like Jesus was not a person.
Well, I don't care about a person who died on a stick. I'm looking for evidence of a magic supreme being.
Well, the miracles Jesus provided and the testimony of his life as a historical person proves that there is a supernatural force out there, is there not?
Where is the supernatural force?
So Jesus would perform healings, right? As per said in the Bible. And so,
well, that's a story, right? You're getting that from a story. It's a literally book of fables. It's like like what you read your children to go to bed. It's a bedtime story, to me.
Okay, to you.
The Bible talks about talking snakes, donkeys, Noah's Ark. Never happened. Never happened.
Okay, so do you believe in anything spiritual? As in, like, is there possibility?
Do you have evidence? Do you have evidence yet for God? Do you have evidence for God yet? I'm not going to accept stories.
Okay. Let's see. So for time, matter, and space to exist, there would have to be a beginning point. Would there not?
No.
So the creation of the world, say the Big Bang Theory, right? All of matter, time, and space came from the Big Bang, right?
Not necessarily.
So then, how could that be if you don't believe if you don't believe the Big Bang exists, what exactly is your take on the creation of the world?
It wasn't created.
It wasn't created.
The universe could have always existed in a way. The Big Bang is just a phase the universe goes through over time. Expands and then contracts, expands, contracts. Well, we don't know the answer. The point is that whether or not the universe began, how does that get you to a God existing?
But of course, those are all theories, right? Because they have not been.
God is not even a theory. God's not even a hypothesis.
Well, we're intellectual beings. Therefore,
Some of us, yeah, some of us.
Okay. So intellect arises from where exactly? Why are we not carnal? Okay. So in that brain, there's what we perceive as our consciousness, right?
Okay.
What is our consciousness derived of? Where does it come from?
The brain.
So to say the consciousness is not outside of the animalistic behavior, right? So an enlightened consciousness like ours compared to an animal's, what is the difference between that? Evolution?
Okay, all animals have brains and all animals have consciousness. We just have slightly different structured brains, a little bit more complicated. Hence, we have larger brains and more conscious experience and awareness. But it doesn't mean that God must exist for this. It's an evolutionary explanation for consciousness. It's purely physical. Consciousness seems to be the phenomenon, electrochemical phenomenon happening in the brain.
Okay, so say experiments were conducted to produce life, right? Taking matter, elemental stuff to produce life, right? How would you produce a consciousness?
Well, consciousness isn't produced in a lab right now. We don't do that. It's although just because we can't make it in a lab doesn't mean it can't be explained naturally. The process of consciousness took billions of years for nature to do. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. Again, there's neuroscientific explanations for it, none of which require God. So can you provide evidence for God now? Because this is really an argument from incredulity. I don't know how consciousness came, therefore God.
Okay. So the evidence pertaining to the Bible proving that God exists, let's go to the story of Moses, right? When they crossed the Red Sea.
No. I'm not going to accept a story from a bedtime
It is a
story.
historical fact. There have been historical arguments, his literally artifacts that have been found in the Red Sea, right?
Give an example.
The chariots,
Oh no, they found chariots which weren't actually real. So there's no actual source, reliable source about the chariots in the sea. There's no such thing.
Have you researched all sources?
As far as I can see, there's no evidence of chariots in the sea produced by Moses.
I don't believe you can look as a finite human being. There's no way you have intellect to prove that God is imaginary. Nor can you prove
this, sir.
Nor can you prove
You have yet to prove your intellect, but let's get the next victim here. Hello?
Hello.
How can I help you?
No, so I just wanted to talk about the fact that you believe God is imaginary. I've grown up a Catholic male in America. Here's what I'm going to say to you. These are not stories. These are facts with documents and everything. Argentina, somewhere in the 2000s, piece of Eucharist, which is a bread found in the Catholic Church, was on the floor. In our beliefs, you have to throw it away in a certain way for it to be respectful. The priest who found it did so. 3 days later, he came back and it was to be seen as bleeding, which is not believable at all. We're humans. We're going to think, oh, immediately fake. So what they did is they brought it to what is known to be the best lab in Argentina. They from there saw that the piece of flesh that the bread, quote unquote, turned into was a piece of the heart that puts blood. I'm young, so I don't know the correct terminology for it, but it passes the blood through the heart into the muscles and to everywhere else into the body. And from that, they were able to test to see what type of heart it was or what happened to the heart. And it appears that the heart had been under lots and lots of stress, right? For that to happen, the human body has to go through unwillingly amounts of stress or torture. From that, they went back into the records of whose heart could this possibly be. And it all went back to the heart of a man from the Middle East who they expect to be Jesus. You can laugh. You can think,
how did they determine this was Jesus' heart?
So they took the blood and they took the piece of heart and they tracked back how they can take blood from a crime scene and track back to whose it belongs to, right? They tracked back. It wasn't anybody from this area. It wasn't anybody from the Argentinian area. So obviously it couldn't come from there. From there, they tracked back to it came from somebody who is of the Middle Eastern origin.
Okay, that doesn't mean it's Jesus.
But the thing is, who else could it be? Why would a piece of bread in the Catholic Church turn into a random
anybody, sir? The
heart?
Middle East. There's lots of people in the Middle East that could be anybody. Number one. Number two, where's your scientific source for all this garbage?
You can look it up. Look up Argentinian miracle. Bread turns into cartilage of heart.
Yeah, do you have a scientific study on this?
There is evidence. You can you can look it up and you can have your hearts full of evidence. If you
So fill up my heart with some studies. Give me one study.
Okay, hold on. I got a computer right here. I can look it up for you right here.
Great. I'd love to hear one scientific study.
Okay. Okay. This is the Eucharist miracle of Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Sir,
Okay.
do you know what a study is?
I do know what a study is.
Great. So what's the title of the study?
Well, for the article that this study is held under, which is if you would like to go see, it is this Diocese of Fargo. This is what would be
a church. That's a church, sir. The
church that it happened at, sir.
That's not a scientific source. That's a church that claims something. That's an article, not a study. The study is a methodology, right? There's an objective. There's the methodology. There's experimentation. The results.
Really, if your heart can consent to, because I'm not going to do it. You can go and find the documents since this happened in 2000.
So you don't have the study.
Oh man, I'm not about to take the time to do it, sir.
All right. Well, next time you come up here, Marco, I expect you to bring some evidence before you make these crazy claims about hearts and Eucharist shit and blood. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Oh man.
Hi.
Hey, what do you got?
This is a big topic. Do you believe that? I mean, you said that time it was like infinite. It always was.
It could be.
And when if you say it could be, yeah, it could be not.
Yeah. What's your point?
That do you believe in a higher power, or is there just like?
Yeah, I believe in jet planes. They're higher. They're powerful. Hot air balloons.
No, meaning a power, like intelligence or power besides for humans on Earth and like the universe?
Oh,
Is there
like
anything
aliens? Yeah, there might be aliens out there. Yeah,
like intelligence with intelligence?
yeah, there might be aliens out there that are intelligent. Yeah.
Okay. And how do we exist, or how do they exist? They just
We just
out of
exist the way we do. We just have like certain atoms and particles. We drink water.
it
We
was
eat food.
created, meaning it happened over like time, or
Yeah, over
we were
time.
just popped.
Over
We
time.
always. So the humans always exist also.
No, there was a time where we didn't exist. Do you have a point now, or is there a point coming?
Yes, I'm saying, to me it seems like there must be something more that we don't understand that created these things.
Well, there probably is something more than we don't understand, but I don't see the point here. Where do you get God now?
So
Where does God come into the equation?
So, I mean, I would forget the word God. We could call it anything, but the point is that what I believe in, at least, is that there's a power, or I don't know.
Okay, if you believe in something, you should have evidence for that, right? That's what we care about here. You can believe whatever you want, but I want evidence behind those beliefs. I'm looking for that. That's what really makes things happen. Evidence, not a belief. Hello?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Great. How old are you now?
Did you ask anybody else how old they were?
Well, you sound younger, ma'am.
I sound younger because I'm a woman and my voice sounds like a woman. I'm confused.
I'm not trying to be rude here, ma'am. I just want to know your age for TikTok guidelines. That's all.
I am over the age of 21, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. How old are you? For TikTok guidelines, How old are you?
I'm 29, ma'am. Now go ahead.
Oh, are you? You look kind of older than 29. It might be all that wisdom you so-called have, that makes you look older. I don't know. You look older than 29, though. You don't age gracefully, it looks like. Like, you look about like 33. But what is this about? God is imaginary. So how do you figure, like, what is your ideology on God being imaginary? I'm very curious.
There's no evidence for God. Do you have any?
Oh, okay, that's not an explanation though. That's just a sentence. Have you looked for evidence, or are you just sticking to your beliefs and that's just it?
I'm looking now for evidence.
No, you're trying to be a smartass, and I'm telling you now, God
I don't see any
doesn't play
God.
that. God doesn't play that. You trying to be smart, bro. You're not smarter than the Most High or the Holy Spirit, for that matter. So, you're making yourself look like a fool by mocking your own existence, buddy. You look like a fool for mocking your own existence.
Ma'am, you believe in talking donkeys, ma'am? Please stop it.
Do you believe in thinking that you know everything and then trying to put people down when they're trying to enlighten you? Like, is that how you feel really in reality, that you know everything?
How am I
Do
putting
you
you
really
down?
feel like in reality that you know everything? That's what I'm asking. You think in reality that you know everything?
I don't. Do you have a point here?
Do you have a point? Because obviously you're not on here speaking any points. You're speaking from your own understanding. And the Bible clearly states, do not fall on your own understanding. But that's exactly what you're doing. So everybody should actually learn from this fool, because you don't have enlightenment. I can tell you that. Because the
Oh,
way
but
that
you
you're
do?
laughing,
Okay,
yeah, I
Inspire.
promise
Okay.
you I do. I promise you. I've gone through 4 different awakenings, buddy. Have you even started one? Have you even started one spiritual awakening?
I'm on my
Have you
third.
even started? No, you're not. There is no way. What, for the devil? For the devil to manifest you? Because Jesus isn't manifesting through you. Jesus and the Holy Spirit aren't manifesting through you. I can tell you that. Because that would be
They are.
understanding. If Jesus was manifesting through you, that would be understanding.
He's manifesting through me. He's smacking
That
me.
would be that. Jesus would never do that. Jesus loves. Jesus doesn't do that at all.
Get away from me,
Jesus does not do that. Like, you're literally hitting yourself. How stupid can you make yourself look? How dumb can you really make yourself look on the internet, my nigga? How stupid? And I'm black. And I'm black. And I'm black, so I can say that. How dumb are you gonna make yourself look?
Okay,
like in reality, how stupid are you gonna continue to make yourself look?
Man,
How stupid are you gonna keep making yourself look? Because you're not answering the question. You want to question everyone else, but you can't go head to head with the Holy Spirit. You keep moving around. Because you're uncomfortable. You're showing signs of uncomfortability. You're showing signs of uncomfortability. You're showing signs of uncomfortability. You're showing signs of I promise you I'm black. You can go to my page and see my dad. Go look at my dad.
Man,
Definitely
like
black. And I'm not just black. I got white in me, and I got Indian in me, and I got Cuban in me, and I got Creole in me. Jesus was.
Okay, this is like unhinged. If this is what Jesus enlightened you with, holy shit, somebody. I don't want to be Jesus enlightened, please. Okay, let's try to start it from fresh.
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the comments. So I'm going to say what I want to say to the people that I don't even know. I don't know them. They're not going to call me white just because I'm a lighter skinned person. I got Creole, Cuban, Indian, Italian. Can't nobody tell me when I'm every single race. Bro, you're laughing, but you're the one that looks like an idiot on the internet. What are you laughing for? What are you really laughing for? I promise you I'm not. I'm just very passionate. I don't get mad. Get mad for what? Like, be for real. I don't even know you. Why would I give you the opportunity to make me feel insignificant? You could never. You could never. You could never.
I'm not trying to make you feel insignificant.
No, you are. You're not just me. You're doing it to other people. That's why. That's why I came on here to check you, because you're doing it.
Relax, man.
You can keep putting me on mute. Delete me. Take me off of here. Because if you're gonna put.
I just want a nice conversation.
If you're going to put me on mute to try to talk about me, that's a problem. I'm going to speak up for myself. Point blank, period.
So, what's your evidence for God?
What's your evidence that you think that you're full of wisdom? What is the evidence that you have wisdom that you're talking about?
Ma'am, take a chill pill.
Where is the evidence that you know what you're talking about? Where is that evidence?
I'm just asking you a question. Do you have evidence for God?
Do you have evidence that he's not real? Like, we could go back and forth with the same. We're still asking the same question, just from a different perspective.
We're
still searching for the same answer.
Relax. Can you try to be Jesus without screaming?
I never said I was.
Can you try to be enlightened without screaming so much?
Never said.
Okay. Misenlightened, ma'am. Please explain to me why God lets people starve in Gaza. Why does God let people starve in Gaza?
It might sound like I'm being loud, but my speaker is connected to my car, so it kind of carries my voice. If I would turn off my car, it would sound a lot different from if I was just speaking into the phone.
Great. So why does Jesus allow kids to starve in Gaza?
Bro, why are you questioning Jesus like you're Jesus? Jesus doesn't allow that. Jesus doesn't have no control over that.
Okay, so why doesn't he
Jesus has no control over that. Because if we are made in God's image, right? That means
is God all powerful?
That means that it's our job to do what God calls us to do. Do you feed the homeless? Because I go out and I feed the homeless. I don't just sit on the internet. I don't just sit on the internet thinking I know what I'm talking about. I really live it.
Okay, ma'am. Now, is God all powerful? Because if he is, he has the power to stop kids from starving, right?
Bro, you sound stupid. I'm telling you now, you
Is
sound
that a
stupid.
counter? It's not an argument. Do you
No,
have...
you sound dumb, bro. You sound dumb. You sound like an idiot, bro. Your ancestors must have been slave owners the way you're
Ma'am,
fucking talking.
ma'am, do
And
you
I can
think that...
almost guarantee your ancestors were slave owners the way that you're talking about Jesus. I can
Okay.
almost guarantee it.
Okay. Did,
Were fucking slave owners. I can almost guarantee it. The way that you,
What do you feel about the Bible when the
I can
Bible...
almost guarantee, yo.
How do you feel about the Bible when the Bible advocates for slavery? Is that
I
bad
can
or good?
almost guarantee that when you see a black person, you get intimidated.
Oh my God, bro. This is the Enlightenment? Jeez, I don't want to be enlightened anymore. Please, no enlightenment for me. I will not take that. No, thank you.
Hi.
Hi. Are you gonna scream at me too?
No, I'm sorry. For me
Okay.
as a Muslim, I feel like she was really aggressive and just like that's not the way like you should go about things, especially if you're trying to convince a person of a higher being. But I'm Muslim. Salam alaikum to all my Muslims in the chat. I just want to say Alhamdulillah, I've converted like 2 of my friends that became Muslim. So when people ask me like how God is imaginary, like my atheist friends, it's fine, they can believe in that. But when people are like, oh, how do you know if God is alive? I would just say like look at your palms, because in your palms it literally says like Allah. Yeah, do you see like right there?
Here?
Yeah, so that's the number 18 in Arabic. And at the right side, it says 81. So that just means like,
Here?
yeah. So it just means that 18 and 81, it just shows you how many prophets and all the things in the Quran. Yeah, so it would, like in the Quran,
Prophets?
it just...
Okay. Where's Allah here? Is Allah here?
No, that's Arabic. That's Arabic wording. It's like
Oh, okay.
1881. But yeah, if you show like your fingers and your like all your thumbs, that pronounces Allah in Arabic. Yeah.
Allah.
Yeah. If you do, yeah. Wait, I wish I could show you, but I can't. I don't know how to go like show my face on here. But yeah, if you just show your palms.
You're above
and then-
18, right?
Yeah, I'm above 18. I'm 20.
You can vote?
Yeah, I can vote.
Please don't. Have a good day. Holy moly. These people can vote? Hi.
Going on?
You have evidence for God?
Yeah, I think I was gonna talk about intelligence because I guess intelligence would have to be infinite like time, right?
What?
Intelligence would have to be infinite like time, right?
No, I don't know what that even means. Intelligence. When you say intelligence, what do you mean? Like thoughts?
Yeah, we can say thoughts because you would need a brain, you would need
Yeah,
consciousness,
I
you
don't
would
think
need.
thoughts are infinite. I don't think thoughts are infinite.
Okay, so intelligence or thoughts is not infinite, right? It didn't always exist.
The universe may be infinite, space and time, but not intelligence, no.
No, I got that. Yeah, I got that from the previous conversations that you think time could be infinite. And I'm wondering why intelligence can't be infinite in that sense
I
that
don't
you're
see how
thinking.
thoughts could be infinite. I think thoughts are just physical objects in the brain. They're not infinite.
So obviously aliens is a possibility, right? So we're not the only, or can't be the first or the only intelligence out there, right?
Okay, so what's your evidence of God now?
My evidence is that intelligence that always existed is evidence of an intelligent designer. No? So you're narrowing it
Yeah.
down when you bring it to thoughts.
Yeah, I don't see why intelligence has to precede beings like us. I mean, it could be the case that the universe is not intelligent; it's just natural, right? There's no mind behind the universe, but
Well, we know.
intelligence emerges. Intelligence emerges from non-intelligence.
Perfect. Now, because my argument is, even a plant is somewhat intelligent, right?
No.
Because for life to form, abiogenesis, did those amino acids that turned into
We lost you.
intelligence?
We lost you. What?
What's that?
What did you say?
I said was that a small form of intelligence?
Amino acids are not intelligent, sir. The amino acids aren't going,
Some
hey,
amino
let's
acids.
combine together. Let's make chains of amino acids. Okay, great, guys. Let's make proteins. Okay, everybody,
You
let's make
misunderstood me.
DNA. Let's start
You
making DNA
misunderstood
now.
me.
Go, woohoo. That's not what's happening on the molecular level, right? Intelligence is not found in cells. It's found in a collective.
We're sure of that.
Right. That's why I'm saying intelligence emerges from a collective.
So what I'm saying is, because correct me if I'm wrong, nature, like a rock, there's no intelligence in that rock, right?
Right.
It's not doing anything. It has no functions, at least sitting there, right? It might have had a function a
Right. So
billion years ago.
can you get to the point where God exists now?
Yeah, the whole thing of God is whenever this intelligence that you think started to emerge, something was required for that emergence. That you can't prove any observational.
We can derive again. Do you know what emergence means? You're emerging. It's a property of a collective that a particular doesn't have, right? So a molecule of water doesn't have wetness. It's not wet. But when wetness emerges from a bunch of water molecules collectively, right? So that's an emergent phenomenon. In the same sense, intelligence works this way. And life is emergent of non-life because life is a process that non-life does, just like intelligence is a process of the collective that the individual doesn't have.
Well, what about this? Are those amino acids are organic, right? They're living.
Yeah.
In a sense?
They're not a living. There's no object is living.
No, but an amino acid by itself, you're saying, is not any form of life. It can't die and turn
There's
into
no
nothing.
object that's alive. No object is living. Life is a process, not an object.
How about proteins? Those are multiple.
They're not alive. Not even DNA is alive.
So DNA is not alive or is alive?
Not alive. They're just molecules.
But DNA can die if it's alone, right? It can become obsolete.
DNA on its own is not living or dead. It's just an object. What makes something alive, what makes DNA alive is when it interacts with other molecules. And if that process stops, yes, then it dies. But there's no such thing as living objects.
So two molecules, you're saying, have function, right? One doesn't. One would die alone.
Can you get to the point where God comes up? Like, where's your God?
To me, you're just proving that the DNA is alive, whether it's together or.
I'm sorry, I can't do that anymore. Time is it? 11? A couple more guests. Please subscribe. Check out my YouTube, link in bio.
Hi.
Hi, how old are you?
20.
Great. What's your evidence for God?
Okay, so I'm not even coming in here to necessarily sway any sort of way that you think, but I do want to ask you a couple things. Firstly, do you believe in the concept of Satan or sin?
No.
Okay. I guess that kind of changes where I'm coming from, because a few guests ago when you were talking about children, you know, starving in Gaza and such, like the way that I view it as someone, and like I do view faith as something that's like, I think that it's something for people to lean on and something that makes them feel like they have a purpose to, like, you know, look at faith and feel like they have something to hold on to. I don't necessarily consider myself as someone who's super religious. But when you were talking about, like, you know, children starving in Gaza, the way that I view it as someone who certainly, like, I grew up Christian and stuff like that, I view it as like mankind and humans are flawed. Okay, boy, I'm
Okay,
gonna
go
hop
on.
off.
Okay.
No, because if you're not listening, then I'm just gonna hop off.
I'm listening.
What I'm saying is that mankind is flawed. The children that are starving have nothing to do with God. Like,
Right, but the problem is that God has all power, right?
but sin came into the world. Man,
But why didn't God get rid of sin, right? Like, why is sin still there? Why didn't he just go, yep, no more sin, woohoo? Why
But-
does sin have to exist?
the Lord didn't have that control.
So then he's not all powerful.
No, God is not all powerful.
Oh, okay, so then God can be beaten up, he can be defeated.
Well, he was defeated.
He was
He was
defeated?
he was crucified on the cross. What I am saying
Okay,
is
so then
that
God's infallible, which means that God makes mistakes. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes. He's not all powerful. He's just another guy like me.
he made two perfect beings no, we're talking about Adam and Eve, who then the serpent came, who is Satan, and they made that decision and brought sin into the world.
But if you're perfect, how do you make a mistake?
Okay, wait. So there's another person that wants to come in here, and I think that they're gonna explain it better than I can. So I'm gonna hop off here. I'm not wording things correctly. I'm gonna hop off.
Who's that person who wants to come up?
Eric. I think his name is Eric. He just said I'm explaining it wrong. So if someone can try to get my point across better than I am, that would be great. Because I think that someone understands what I'm saying, but I'm not saying it correctly.
All right, thank you. All right, let's bring up Eric. Eric.
Yo. So, you don't believe in God, right? You can turn my camera on? Or not?
It's up to you. How old are you?
Shit. What do you need to know? I'm here to prove you wrong. My age doesn't matter.
Eric, how old are you?
I'm 17. I just want to prove you wrong.
Okay, well, maybe next year. All right, let's do the next victim.
Yo, Swan. Yo.
Hello?
Yo.
How old are you?
I'm 18, Swan.
What, you're reborn?
Shit. Nah. Chill.
If heaven has these kind of people, this is what I don't want. All right, a couple more people. Keep tapping, keep commenting for the algorithm. And by the way, I don't ask for Venmo every 2 seconds. Don't gotta worry about that with me. I can care less if you Venmo or Cash App. I don't care about that shit. I'm not gonna stop the live if I get a galaxy. Boom! Thank you for the galaxy! Never gonna do that. Make a whole series about it. Oh, I got a galaxy on live. Yeah, it's not.
Yo, Mike. I'm here to show you some Christian love, my dude, and I was impressed with your 1v1 of the Holy Spirit just before.
Thank you.
I have some actual evidence for God, unlike some of these other guests. So I'm here to warp and change your mind. Have you heard of the man Ron White?
Unfortunately.
Well, I don't know how you could dismiss Ron White. He made 100+ biblical discoveries in such a short time. He wasn't even an archaeologist.
Okay,
It was bloody impressive, Mike.
I appreciate it. You're in trouble. Biblical. Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hello? How are you?
Sorry.
Yeah, so I wanted to tell you something. Have you ever thought about this? Like, so you believe the universe is all there is, right? And I guess you define the universe as what we know so far through science, right? Like what's studied by the natural sciences.
So what's your evidence of God now?
Well, my evidence for I don't see you're asking for that on your title. You're just saying God is imaginary, right? But that's your requirement, right? To no, you don't want to have any conversation.
Did you just run a marathon?
Yeah, I just went to Costco, so it's a lot of stuff. Sorry.
Come back when you.
No, I'm fine. No, basically, I wanted to. My argument is mostly like through like our senses, right? I believe, obviously as a Christian, we're image and of God, and we're alike. And our senses is everything He gave us to understand the universe. But in your case, you need to believe that since the universe has no mind, that our senses is just a product of survival. So how can you claim to be rational when our senses didn't evolve to be rational, but only for survival? You think you can understand the world through natural sciences? It's not that required faith for you to think that your senses is all there is to understand the world or science itself?
We don't need God to come to reasons about the world around us. We don't need God to come to evidence. We can find that without evolving those things. We evolved the brain, the tool to get to knowledge, but we didn't evolve knowledge, beliefs, or claims. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Right, beliefs don't
yes,
evolve.
But you believe there's you believe in science. That's all you believe on, right?
I don't believe in science. Science is not a belief; it's a method.
Yeah, of course. I'm an engineer. I love science. Trust me. I as a kid I watched all the Carl Sagan videos. I love science, and there's many Christians that are good scientists.
Like, what is Costco doing to people these days?
It's a lot of stuff. I have a baby. That's why I had to buy diapers.
Have a good day. Come back when you're ready. I can't deal with the breathing every 2 seconds. I'm not going to Costco no more. Hello? Yeah, try Instacart next time. Hello?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Confused and tired. What do you got?
You know who Habib Nurmagomedov is?
Habib Magagalaba? No.
Nurmagomedov.
Nurmagomedov? No.
You Nurmagomedov.
Nurmagomedov?
Dov, yes. You're almost there, man. You're almost there, bro.
Nurmagomedov. No, I don't know.
Well, he praises Allah. And
Okay, and
he built a career.
Okay.
Oh my God. He built a career around Allah and discipline, and that's where he is. He's a retired UFC fighter, 29-0, and he believes in Allah. And without Allah, he wouldn't be there. He wouldn't be the champion that we all know.
How about, sir, we just had somebody come in today say they were enlightened by Jesus and they wouldn't be where they were without Jesus. Which one's correct? Should we pray to Allah or Jesus? Which one?
Both.
So every god's real? Every god's simultaneously real? God, Isis, Boozes, Zeus, Dionysus, every god's correct?
For the people that believe in that certain religion, yes.
Okay, so then you've just rendered your entire view. It's been undermined because now you can't falsify for Allah. Because every god's simultaneously correct. You can't know if Allah is real or not real. Because they could, just as they're all correct, they could all be false. You wouldn't tell the difference.
I mean, I just pray.
This is terrible epistemology. You have no way of knowing that Allah is real. When the moment you say, well, yeah, I believe in everything.
What?
How do you know Allah is real? How do you know this? How do you know that Allah helped you, the UFC guy? Maybe he helped himself. Maybe he's crediting Allah for something he did himself. How do you know this is real and this is true?
Because I talked to this guy personally, and he's one of my favorite fighters.
But this is an appeal to authority, right? Oh, here, this person, he is a UFC fighter. He must be real. He must be correct. He must be reliable because he's a fighter. Well, this is an appeal to authority fallacy, right? We want evidence, not somebody's opinion.
I mean, what can I say, dude? The guy is a millionaire, and
what can you say? Nothing. You can't say anything that is relevant to this discussion.
Came out from Dagestan, Russia.
Great. I'm happy for him. Great. Congratulations. But this doesn't mean God's real. How about the UFC fighters who pray to God and they fail and they get hurt and they don't have $1 million? They lose money, right? Does that mean Allah is not real? You can't know if Allah is real or not with your epistemology, with your way of truth.
I'm a Texas Tech student, and I'm an engineer, and without God I wouldn't have been here.
How do you know that?
Because how would I know that? I mean, I don't know. I have faith. I have faith that God's real.
Oh, I thought Nimr Naganov had to tell you.
He also told me that God's real.
Okay. How do you know for sure with certainty? You have no actual evidence. You're just going by what somebody told you. And what feels good. That's not evidence. That's just desire. That's just a belief. I want evidence.
Hey, whoever said the Sugar Show, I can't wait to watch that fight. I got the Sugar Show round 2. A knockout.
Yeah, this person's not serious.
What's going on, right? Yeah, so the way I prove God's existence is by the way that everyone acts, the way that you act, the way that you cannot live life as if morals are not a real thing, as if you cannot live life as if there isn't true and real beauty when you look at things, right? And if you are to say that you're atheist, then I think you'd have to admit, if you're a materialist atheist, you'd have to admit that anything that you consider to be right or wrong would have to be imaginary, right? It can't be really. It's not really right? It only exists in your mind, correct?
Yes, and what's the problem with recognizing that morality is just subjective to us? There's no objectivity there. What's the problem with that?
Yeah, there wouldn't be a problem with it if you could actually live consistently with it.
We are. I am living consistently with my ethics. It's not God. I don't need God to know that murder is wrong.
Well, there you go. See, murder is not really wrong It's just in
It's
your
really
head.
wrong. It's really wrong to me.
To you, right? To you, right?
Why
Right.
can't we live this way?
Just think about what you're saying, because the same you judge the Christian for believing in an imaginary God. Look at the words above your head. God is imaginary, right? You just admitted that your morality is imaginary in the exact same way. Yet
No,
you
it's not
expect
imaginary. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's that it's not a real tangible thing. It still exists as a descriptive way of evaluating consequences to actions, right? Ethics is something that is well understood in philosophy.
right.
It's about
Exactly.
viewing
Well,
what
it's
causes
very
the
well
best
understood.
utility. There's different ways of viewing what's good or bad, right? Normatively speaking.
But it's completely subjective to the person, right?
And what's wrong with that?
What that means the exact same thing that's above your head. That means it's imaginary. It's a collective amount of people that have
No, it
gotten
doesn't mean it's
together and said
imaginary,
this
sir.
thing is
When I
real.
say imaginary, I'm talking about it doesn't exist in reality. Morality does exist in reality. It's just subjective, right?
Well, that's the whole thing. It doesn't. There's not really this standard of good and bad. It's
There
not
is a
really
standard,
there.
sir. There is a standard. It's just subjective.
Right. Well, it's not even a real standard. It's not real, because whenever you
Okay,
say,
so where do you get your standard of morality?
I get my standard of morality from God.
Okay, and where does God get his standard of morality?
God doesn't get his. God has an essence, and from him, from his essence is where we get our standard. So in other words,
Okay.
God's thoughts are our reality.
Okay,
See,
great. So Anthony, are you Christian?
I'm Christian, yep.
Okay, so do you think slavery is wrong objectively?
So this is what you have to understand. This is very important. This is very important. This is very important. All right. Well, if you don't want to listen to it, that you will be missing out. This is what the Christian believes. The Christian believes everything God does is good, because the only thing that is good is God.
Okay.
That's it. Everything he chooses to do.
So everything God does is good, right? So in the Bible, when God commands us and instructs us to beat our slaves, that's good, right?
Right. Well, he. So this was another thing. Like, right. So if an officer was to command another officer to slam someone on the ground, is that bad?
Anthony,
See, no, I'm telling you, it actually matters about the situation. The situation is what matters, right?
Anthony,
So,
let me explain something. In Deuteronomy 22:23, God says that if a grape victim is being violated by a man, that if she doesn't speak out, she must be put to death. That's God's law in Deuteronomy.
You've twisted that verse. Pull it up. Pull the verse up, because that's not what it says.
Objectively good.
I know that verse, and
that's
that's not what it
objectively
says. I know that verse, and that verse has been twisted. And if you really want to go into the verse, we can break it down. But yeah, you'll be proven wrong. I promise you. So that's not what the verse is saying. Because even later on, it tells you that if any man is to force a woman, he's to be killed, right? So that's told to us.
But the woman too.
No, so what is being spoken of then?
It says the woman should be put to death too.
No, not if a woman is raped. It doesn't say that.
Yes, it does.
We can pull up okay now. If you really want me to embarrass y'all, pull these verses up. Do you really want to do that?
Deuteronomy 22:23.
Let's go. Let's go there. Because if you really want to go there, we'll go there. Pull them up.
You should know your Bible.
Right. Pull it up. I know my Bible. I'm a minister at my church.
You're a minister?
Yep, I'm a minister at my church.
Okay, if a man happens to meet in a town a virgin pledged to be married, and he sleeps with her, you shall take them both to the gate of that town and stone them to death.
Right, and what's being spoken of there is consensual sex.
Hold on. The rest of it. The young woman, because she was in town and did not scream for help. So if she doesn't scream for help, they both deserve to be killed according to your God. Is that objectively good to you, Anthony? Minister?
Right. So once you understand the context, the first thing you're going to understand is that what is being said is that if this woman does not scream out, it's letting you know that she's guilty and she's sleeping with the person. That's what's being said there.
So you
Very
think it's
simple, very
so
simple
you
stuff.
think it's good that we should stone her to death because she was partaking in the process of being raped?
She wasn't being, she wasn't, if she was being raped, the man would have been stoned and she wouldn't have.
Yes, she would. The verse says it.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
All right.
it says the man violated her.
What verse are you reading?
It says the man violated her, but the woman also, if she doesn't scream for help, she should be stoned.
You're hilarious, dude. All right. What verse is it? What
You're
verse
laughing?
is it?
You're a minister.
Yeah, because you're
laughing
twisting it. It's so funny.
This is pathetic that you're a minister and you're laughing at how cruel and disgusting and barbaric this verse is. That's pathetic. You're a minister?
Think about the consistency of that. You're looking at God's word, and I'm a minister of God's word, and you're telling me that God's word is barbaric.
Excuse me, Anthony. Excuse me. Is this objectively good or bad that we should stone women to death for being raped?
Right, because like I've already said, that's not what's being spoken of in that verse.
Then why is the woman being stoned here? Why is the woman being stoned there?
Because she was committing adultery, sir.
So you think we should murder people who commit adultery and cheat?
I think whenever God has a reason to take the life that He's given.
Anthony, do you think we should murder people and stone them to death for cheating?
There's things that it's wrong for people to do that is right for God.
Anthony,
just like
yes
there's things that's right
yes
for me to do that's not right for my
Minister,
children to do.
Minister Anthony, should we kill people for cheating? Yes or no?
Well, according to your worldview, there's no right or wrong for anybody, right?
Yes or no, Anthony?
According to my worldview, everything God does is. Whose worldview are we going off of? You want to know according to me?
Anthony, I'm going to give you one more chance to be honest with me. Do you think, minister, killing somebody for cheating is ever good? Yes or no? Yes or no? If you don't say yes or no, I'm going to kick you.
Yes. Oh, look at the person who doesn't believe in objective morals. Look at him.
You think stoning somebody to death for cheating is good? That's pathetic. That's fucking pathetic. Right? Under his version of morality, we have to say the Bible is that slavery is good, beating slaves is good, stoning people to death for cheating is good, all these disgusting things. And this is just the surface. There's so much more out there in the Bible that is atrocious. I think that's not a very good way of morality. And it definitely ain't objective. Let's try one more victim here. Hello? I wasn't twisting the verse. It says what I'm saying it says.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you believe in have you ever read the Bible?
I read enough of it to know it's nonsense.
And you got the Quran and a bunch of other religious books, right?
Yeah, what is your argument for God now?
Those are old books based on people who's been there and what they've written down.
Okay, thank you. What's your evidence for God now?
If he wasn't real, why would they write that stuff about a random fake person?
If Cat in the Hat wasn't real, why would they write verses? Why would they write a whole book about Cat in the Hat? See what I did there?
Yeah, but that's a fictional story. These are like pretty much biographies per se.
The Bible's a biography.
Yeah, it's pretty much history per se.
So
it's
history. Do you think that there's talking snakes, talking donkeys?
At one point, there probably was.
Do you think there's a big ass boat with all the dinosaurs on it?
Dinosaurs are probably still real.
Okay. All the penguins on it, all the kangaroos on the big ass boat that flew across the seas for 40 days and 40 nights. Think that's all real?
Yep. I think every story has truth in it.
How did the penguins get to Antarctica then? Did they waddle across Africa thousands of miles and then swam across the ocean for 2,000 more miles in the freezing cold and the winds?
How do sharks get in the Atlantic Ocean? How do they get to the Pacific Ocean? I mean, they swim. That's what they do. They migrate.
Why are there no remnants of these penguins? Why are there no evidence of the Ark? Why is there no evidence of talking donkeys? Where's your evidence for any of this shit?
They actually did find evidence for an ark, and they found evidence for a flood. They found evidence for all that shit.
Where? Where's the evidence for the shit?
Look it up.
Where? Where am I looking it up? My ass? Aren't they there, Ark? Where's the evidence?
I mean, scientists literally documented it.
What's the document?
I don't know off the top of my head. But you mean you can do the research yourself.
Come back when you're ready, LJ. Thank you for being here. Oh. Who wants more? More? More! Caleb looks nice. He looks like a nice guy.
What's up? How you doing?
How are you?
Good. Just before, I know you're gonna give me evidence why God is real. I have evidence to give you why I believe God is real. I put my faith in God, and I do believe to do that, to give you evidence, it's going to continue to go back to the creation, which I think for an intellectually honest conversation, I'd like to know how, even just quickly, you don't have to explain it however long you'd like to, how you believe we became, because I wasn't on this live this whole time. I'm sure you've spoken about it before. How did we come to creation in the universe? And then based upon that, I believe that we can have a good debate as to why I believe there's evidence for Christ and God.
Okay, so first of all, even if we don't have an answer as to how we got here, it doesn't mean God is more likely. But the good news is that we have a good explanation for how we are here. Evolution explains the evolution of our species, the evolution of all animals on the planet. The Earth itself is a big rock, and that is explained by fragmented pieces of rock and metals and ice that clump together due to gravity. They get larger and larger through time. There's an entire scientific model of this called the nebular hypothesis, which describes how star systems form through gas clouds. These gas clouds are present throughout the universe in its early stages, and all the way back to the Big Bang, which was an expansion of space-time that drags us along with it. And we are part of this ever-evolving universe, and we happen to be this small snippet of time and space in which we exist this way. But it's all natural. There's no God. It's all chemistry, physics, and science. There's no evidence of God doing it.
Now, I believe, I don't think that evolution is necessarily wrong. I do believe that science has had its works in evolution. However, you're starting to create an argument for a Big Bang, which has to have a cause. Evolution has to have a cause. Yes, it does. You have to have a cause. A rational, a divine, the order and design of our universe requires a rational mind.
Why? Why must there be a mind behind the order?
I'm telling you that I put my faith in God because I believe that it's more rational, that a rational mind would create a rational mind, and that an eternal being has a cause for life. There's nothing on this earth that comes life. Nothing that has life comes from non-life.
Sure it does.
Life comes from life.
Sure it does. Life comes from non-life. That's the only way it gets here. Because life is a process that non-life does.
Okay, so where did the Big Bang start? What happened before that?
What's the Big Bang? Tell me what you think the Big Bang is.
I'm asking you what happened before the Big Bang. Charles
That
Darwin
question is
was an
invalid
atheist, and he
because of
said
a
that there
definitive thing.
wasn't an answer for that.
Caleb. You're suffering from the Dunning-Kruger.
No, I'm
You're
not.
asking bad questions because of your ignorance on the science.
No,
So,
I'm trying to come to a point
Caleb,
that I think you are just as religious than me. You just believe we came from nothing, and I.
No, I don't think it came from nothing. The universe could have always existed, and the Big Bang is not the start. It's just another phase the universe goes through: expansion and contraction. The universe could be infinite, and still the Big Bang be real. The Big Bang is evidenced by the cosmic microwave background radiation we have, the redshifting of galaxies. They're all evidences of the Big Bang. Now, when it comes to God, there is no evidence for God or a mind making anything. Everything you think is made by a mind or a design is also explained very nicely through evolution and through science. The order of the universe is also explained through science, and the disorder as well. Order can come from chaos, and chaos can come from order. Because the laws of the universe is governed by laws of physics, which in both cases can make those things happen. There's no need for God. You don't need God. You don't need a big man with a big beard making things happen like a puppet master. That's seemingly egotistical to me, to believe in such a thing. So I'm asking for evidence. Please, provide the evidence that you know this is designed.
Why I believe God designed all of this?
Yeah.
I told you, I said I believe that everything, I think the unique design of the cosmos require an intelligent mind.
You are assuming it's designed when it could be natural.
Okay, but to have an intellectually honest conversation here, you're having conversation with someone who believes in a God. So for me to give you my perspective on why I believe God created those things, I'm going to have a chance to breathe here and give you reasons as to why I think a God, an eternal being, created Earth. So before you step in and say that you're already assuming things, I'm assuming that God existed.
I don't want just your perspective. I want the evidence.
Well, Jesus Christ existed because of the eyewitness accounts of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. These are all
not eyewitness accounts. First of all, the Gospels are not eyewitness. Okay, when were the Gospels dated?
Those are eyewitness accounts that follow a good test to follow whether or not I believe that they're real. They all happened in places like Capernaum, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, all of which are historical.
The Gospels were not eyewitness testimonies. Most biblical scholars agree that the Gospels are written after the fact, about 80, 70, 80, 90 years after the fact that Jesus died. And they were orally passed down through time, meaning that they were not written testimonies either. They're orally passed down, which means that those oral testimonies could have been changed drastically by the time they were said and written down. Okay? They are unreliable at the very most. And at worst, it's just made up nonsense. They're not eyewitness testimonies. And I don't care about some guy who died on a stick. I want evidence of a God. And to me, saying, oh, well, everything looks designed to me, that's not a good reason, because everything could have very well been produced without somebody doing it, but just the laws of nature themselves, the natural processes, right? If you're going to say that the universe is order, therefore designed, how about God? God's orderly. By your logic, God must have been designed. Who designed God? Please answer these questions before you continue.
God's eternal. So again, intellectual honesty here would suggest that I believe in a God that's eternal, that didn't require a cause. He always.
Then the universe is eternal. Hence, it doesn't require cause either.
Okay, and that's fine. And so that's what I believe in, and you think that's ridiculous. But then at the same point, let me tell you something. You said that everything might have very well been there and existed. And let me just say, you're just as religious as anybody else because you believe in something that might have very well existed, just like I believe in a God that might have very well existed.
I don't
The only
have
difference is
religion.
because the only difference is you believe in star stuff and I believe in a God, and you tell me which one sounds more realistic.
No, that's not how this works. Truth doesn't work by what feels good or what sounds better to you. Truth is what can be demonstrated.
There is no truth to the beginning.
Caleb. Truth isn't just what sounds good to you or to Caleb. Truth is something that can be demonstrated and falsified, tested repeatedly, verifiably. That's evidence, and that's what science does. It's a methodology we follow. It's very disciplined and rigorous. Saying, oh, look, everything looks cute, therefore God did it, that's not rigorously tested. That's not verified at all. It's not falsifiable in the first place. It's gibberish. Stardust is a caricature of what I believe. It's not just dust, right? There's a more elaborate nuance to that. But I'm looking for some evidence that makes you correct over my belief or any person's belief who simply thinks the universe is natural. Do you have that evidence? And it's not just a belief, it's data, right? We want that. Please. I'll try one more time with you.
Okay, so first of all, I was just trying to turn on the mic, and I realized you're the one that's in control of the mic. So, repeat exactly what you just said again, because I just lost my train of thought, and I don't want to explain something on a lost train of thought there. You can even say it quickly, and it'll come back to me.
Evidence must be falsifiable to be evidence.
You said something about science being repeated. You proved to me, I'll prove to you God existed when you can prove to me that Napoleon actually fought the Battle of Waterloo. You weren't there. We knew that the Battle of Waterloo
Vastly different
occurred.
claims. First of all, we don't have to accept all historical claims about Napoleon. There are many things we don't believe are true about Napoleon.
Sure, absolutely.
So
Were reading
even if I grant you Jesus existed and talked to people like a rabbi, great. Where's your evidence of the supernatural, right? The magical God. That's what we care about here.
I believe that the universe is too perfectly created for there not to be an intelligent mind and a God behind it. I think that everybody's
Not evidence. That's just a belief. That's an intuition you have. I'm looking for evidence. Now, when you say
evidently
everything's
clear.
perfect-
Hold on,
What's
can I finish one? Can I make
No,
one last?
no.
Why?
Let's
Because you
let's
mute
talk
me
about
every
this
time.
design. Let's talk about this design here. You're saying that everything looks perfect to you, correct?
Yeah.
Everything's perfect in the world. Cancer, diabetes.
I think God is perfect. I think God is perfect, and I think we live in a cursed world when we decided to eat the fruit. And God stepped back and he gave us a free will. We live in a world full of sin, but we have the free will to choose to live our lives with God or separate from God.
But before humans existed, do you understand that cancer existed, right?
God created humans.
Before humans, there was cancer. Do you agree?
How so?
Animals can have cancer.
God
Cancer
created
is
the
something
earth
that
all
we
at
don't
one point.
choose. We don't choose
He
to have
created in
cancer. It's
7
something
days.
that's integral to our genes, to
There
our
was no
self.
sickness until we ate the forbidden fruit. We were told not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and
Okay.
evil.
And who
Again,
made
you're
the
having
fruit?
conversation with someone who believes in a God, so to have an
Caleb,
intellectually honest conversation, you're speaking from my perspective that I believe in a God.
Caleb, who made the evil fruit?
God had it there. He gave us the free will.
So then
to
God
choose whether or
fucked it
not
up.
we
So
wanted to
then-
eat.
so
No,
Caleb,
God
so-
didn't mess it up. We chose to mess it up. Why can't humans?
Caleb, your God designed the evil apple right next to the people. That's what did God expect to happen? It seems like he purposely placed the apple right next to the Adam and Eve, such that they would, be eager and be, have the urge to eat the apple. By the way, God knew they would do it in the first place. Why did he let them do it? And why is there so much evil coming from this damn apple? Why do you really think cancer comes about from an apple? Come on, this seems unfair, at least. Unfair that kids die of cancer because of an apple, right? So please elaborate.
First of all,
Why
sure,
would you think that?
cancer's awful. It would be absurd of me to sit here and tell you that I don't think death is an awful thing and that natural disaster are a terrible thing. Those are all terrible things. First of all, we have to get to the beginning of understanding when he stepped away and gave us free will. There are a lot of atheists who don't believe that a God is sovereign, but can also allow us to have free will. I don't believe in that.
Caleb, does God have free will?
Huh?
Does God have free will?
Does God have free will? God can step in and allow things.
Caleb, does God have free will? Yes or no?
Yes, God's eternal. He can.
Does God ever do evil?
No.
Okay, so then God could have made a world where people have free will yet never do evil, right? It's possible.
God gave us free will. We chose to eat the apple.
Free will does not necessitate evil, right? If God has free will, he's good, such that he never does evil, right?
No,
So
that's
why-
your human perspective of what you think perfect should be. I believe that my God is so perfect that even in the bad things in this world, that he has a perfect and just will in why those things are happening, whether you like it or not.
Oh, so you're saying there's a reason why bad things happen?
Yes.
God has a plan.
God allows for certain things to happen. He doesn't will those things to happen. Don't twist it into I'm saying that God has a will for those things to happen. I'm saying that God has the power to step in and allow certain things. And so there are certain things that as a Christian and as a believer, I can say, I don't know. I don't know why he allows cancer to occur.
So you're saying God has a reason for evil, right? Like the Holocaust. God had a reason to allow that?
Everything that's ever happened had a reason. If I believe in God, I am
okay. Great. So everything that has happened has a reason. So the Holocaust was reasoned by God. God has a reason for
God
it.
allowed it to happen. He didn't step in and stop it.
Right. God allowed the Holocaust to happen.
Okay.
God allows women to be raped.
God also allowed the United States to go in and finish the war, so that was a blessing. It stopped it early. Cool. So God did a blessing while there was also something bad happening.
Caleb. God allows every grape, every murder, right? God allows every grape to happen.
God's also allowed good marriages to happen as well. Okay,
God allows, right? But it seems
he allows, right? Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Caleb. It seems gratuitous that God would allow so much evil. I mean, why would babies get cancer? What's the reason for that? What's the reason for, people to get struck by lightning? What's the reason for volcanoes to kill many thousands of people? What's the reason for so much suffering in the world? It seems unnecessary.
And the intellectually honest answer to that is that I believe in an eternal God that I can't fully understand here in the flesh, so I don't know.
So if tomorrow...
I don't know.
So, Caleb, do you think rape is objectively wrong, right?
Yeah, rape is wrong. I believe God gave us all the morals and stuff.
Tomorrow, God came down and sent a bunch of devils to grape everybody. Would that be wrong or good? Because God had a reason for it.
If he sent devils to go and grape people.
Yeah, little demons to come grape people. Would that be good or bad?
God wouldn't do that.
Oh, but he does in this hypothetical.
This sounds like a hypothetical game of tag to try to tag somebody who's Christian.
He has a reason for it. Would that be good to you? He had a reason for it.
Why are we dealing in hypotheticals and not with what we're dealing with
testing
here?
the consistency of your logic to see how logical you are.
Okay, so testing in that. Okay. So hypothetically, if this were to happen, and the God that I believe in, that I believe is always perfect and just in allowing certain things to happen, if this were to happen, would I be okay with it? That's what you're asking.
No, I'm not asking if you'd be okay with it. I'm asking if it's good that God would send down demons to grape everybody on the planet. Would that be good for God to do? Because he had a reason.
Well, I can tell you, first of all, no. But
okay.
No. Because we said,
Caleb, there you go. Just because God does allow something doesn't make it good. So you can't resort to this skeptical theism and say, well, he has a reason. You can't do that because there are things that you know for sure are evil. So you can't resort anymore to the skeptical theism, right? If you do, you're just undermining your own ethical framework. Because God could do anything, and you would still say it's good, which would be an absurdity. So try again.
I didn't say that I wouldn't acknowledge those things to be evil or bad. I didn't say that God allowing the Holocaust to happen isn't something that I in the flesh recognize as something that's bad. I didn't say that I would recognize a kid getting cancer when he's young and not getting
I agree. But the problem is that all things considered, those things were good because they fulfilled God's greater plan.
Well, I believe that God's plan is perfect.
Right,
I have faith.
and that's the problem, right? Because
Why is that a
now every
problem?
Holocaust is good. Every grape is good. Every evil act is good because it's all part of God's plan.
Well,
That's the
evil-
problem.
No, the plan that he has and the will he has is perfect. And sometimes the process to getting to that isn't always pretty for us in the flesh and easy for humans to
Right, so
understand.
here you go. You just conceded that every grape is now good, all things considered.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did, inadvertently. Because
how? If I wanted to say that, I would
you
just
say
say
God's. You agree that God has a plan for every action, right? And his actions, his ultimate goal is good, right?
Okay. Let's play the
Right.
hypothetical tag
Okay,
route continually.
the Holocaust was part
when
of
I know
God's
that
plan,
my
so it
God
leads to the
is
big-
not
the
that
greater
God.
good.
My
Caleb,
God doesn't send devils
Caleb,
to
you
go
have
kill
to
people.
listen to me, sir. You have to listen to me. To steelman your argument, you think that God has a greater plan for everybody. Everything that's happening is happening under God's perfect plan. So this means everything happening under God's plan is perfect. Every grape, every murder, every Holocaust, every disease, everything's perfect under God's plan. This is your view, sir. It's all part of God's plan, so it's good, right, Caleb?
Everything happens. God has a just plan, whether we like it or not.
Okay, so then every grape, every murder, every Holocaust is good. All
That's
things
free will.
considered.
That's free will. We choose to do those things. God
Okay,
is
that's
choosing not to
irrelevant. That's a red
intervene.
herring. That's a red herring. I'm asking you.
Really? That's a red
I'm
herring.
asking you.
So
All
if I
things
choose to go and
considered,
rape somebody,
Caleb. All things considered, every action that happens is good, right?
I didn't say that every action is good. I said that I recognize that certain things are evil.
All things considered, right?
All things considered now.
In
Okay.
totality, every action is good because it fulfills God's greater plan.
We have free will. And so you're bringing in the conversation.
You're not
of rape.
engaging, Caleb. I'll try
No,
one more
you
time.
want to get a
with you.
yes or no like a corner. This is what
Yes,
atheists like to
it
do.
should be easy, yes or no. I mean, you have an objective morality.
God is perfect all the time. That's what I know.
You're not engaging. You've lost track.
Okay.
Let's try one more time with you. Everything that happens is part of God's plan, right?
Yes. Suffering is part. And justice comes later
Suffering's
on.
part of God's plan. So every grape, every murder is part of God's plan for the greater good, right?
Everything, yes.
Okay, great. So under your view, all evil is actually good because
All
it
evil
gives rise to
committed
the
by-
greater good. Every Holocaust, the Holocaust
God has
is good.
justice in
all
the
things
end.
considered because it leads to a better world, right?
Okay, can I speak now? God has justice in the end, always. So I believe he's perfect and just. And the things that we're suggesting, not a hypothetical like devils graping everybody. There's grape, there's disease, there's all these things. As far as grape goes, we have free will. And we're choosing to live.
I just can't. I can't engage with this type of person. They just don't comprehend. Look, guys, if you think it's really simple, right? If you think God has a plan for everybody, well, this renders every action good because God needs it to fulfill his greater plan. And this means every action is just a means to an end, and according to God, an index to God's goal. Now, this would mean that everything that happens, every Holocaust, every grape, every action is actually now no longer evil. All things considered, they're actually good. But the bigger problem, even still, is that God's ultimate goal is arbitrary, right? The entire point of, there has to be this defeat condition, there has to be this skeptical theism. We don't have a reason why. God has a reason. All of this is rendered useless because, look, God's perfect. He could have made the goal anything he wanted to. He didn't have to go through all this process, suffering and harm to enact his greater goal. He could have done anything. He's all powerful. He could have caused any universe to emerge and any goal to be achieved. So you end up with a God that's pretty much just a big prick who allows all this suffering because of no arbitrary reason. some arbitrary reason, you know. I think I'm done. Let's do some Q&A now. Thanks for listening, though. I'll take some questions for me and anything. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm not married now. Very insightful. Yeah. Does Mike not believe in karma? I don't think karma is a real thing. I think that we pretend that there's good that's going to come later, but that's ego. I don't believe that. I think that shit just happens and we happen to be part of it. We expect there to be good. We want there to be. We desire good things, but ultimately, we are subject to the universe entirely. What about bad? What do you mean, what about bad? Would you date a non-vegan? No. As long as you speak negativity, that's all you'd be looking forward to. I'm not. People think I'm negative. People think I'm a bad person because I'm an atheist, right? That's not at all true. There's no reason why I'm a bad person. Because I'm an atheist. There's no reason why that would be the case. Was I always atheist? No. I became an atheist about 10 years ago. But we had some good discussions today. I hope you guys listened. What is your opinion on culling carnivorous animals? I mean, yeah, it would make sense. It'd be consistent to say that yes, we should cull carnivorous animals if the world was perfect, but it's not, right? Unfortunately, we have to deal with what we have, and there's no way we can practically kill off carnivores, predators, and maintain a society the way we have it. It's not practical to do that. But sure, I mean, there's other nuances there, but I don't know. To me, it's just like, yeah, it's not really my problem to think about that nonsense. It's not. That's like arguing, oh, are shellfish sentient? Like, I don't really care about that. There's a bigger problem. People think God loves you, but yet lets people suffer. Well, look, I have nothing wrong with a theist that says, well, there might be, some reasons, suffering has value. There is value in suffering to an extent, right? So the problem is that there's so much damn suffering in the world that it wouldn't make sense for God to produce such a world. So yeah, although there is value in suffering, it's not going to do enough to explain why there's so much. Right? There's an extent to which suffering is just unnecessary, right? So that's what atheists have to leverage in these kinds of discussions. You can't explain why this is all here. Neither can you. I mean, okay, let's say God exists. What explains God? Why is God there? Where did God come from? Who is God? What's he made of? What is this? All these questions still are there. If you're going to say God is just there and he's eternal, well, we can say that about the universe. You're not answering anything by saying God. You're not. You're not getting anywhere else. You're just kicking the can down the road, right? In other words, you're not solving the problem. You're just kicking the can. You're just kicking the trash further away. You're stuffing your laundry in the nooks and crannies of your bedroom. You're not actually doing the laundry. You're just throwing it into the closet, right? So not only does theism not explain the reasons why we exist, but we don't have to. Nobody has to explain why we're here. The question might be invalid. Why did I kick out the guy claiming God's math? Because that's a fruitless discussion. God's math. Okay, well, God's my booger. It doesn't do anything for us. What is my ethical framework? What do you mean? Like meta-ethics? I'm an anti-realist. I don't think morality is a real thing in the sense that facts exist about morality. But I do think that normatively we ought to do things that provide the most utility, but also taking into consideration the deontic value to things, the deontic principles, right? Like we should adhere to principles first and foremost, but gauge our actions also based on the utility that it brings up to a certain threshold, right? In other words, if the utility is enough, the positive utility is enough, then that action should be done versus something that reduces utility or has negative utility if it reaches a certain threshold of utility. Threshold deontologist. Yeah. I just wanted to explain how that works because people don't know what that means. Do you take the 6-week abortion position? Hell no. No, I think that, first of all, abortion is not a moral issue as much as it's a legal issue. But yes, I mean, morally, I'd probably say that anything beyond 26 weeks, probably immoral. But again, most abortions occur way before that. It's not really relevant to me, morally. Abortion has a stronger or a more potent relevance when it comes to women's bodily autonomy, when it comes to socioeconomic outcomes in certain places in America, right? So a lot of people get an abortion if they can't afford the baby, or if they, there's many reasons why. Yeah, 6 weeks is way too early. That's ridiculous. That's way too early. It also has abortion also has limiting access to abortion also has consequences that are negative in terms of like society, in terms of like doctors, the medical industry. I mean, it can do more harm than good if you restrict healthcare. It makes the whole process more muddier, and that's not going to help anybody. That the utility is negative after you limit abortion access. Anything more than 24 weeks. Am I lonely? No, I'm not lonely. But there's nothing wrong with being lonely sometimes. Heartbeat and brainwaves are consistently detected 8 to 10 weeks after. I don't care. There's not enough there might be brainwaves, but it doesn't mean that there's consciousness, right? There might be a heartbeat, but it doesn't mean it's actually, a sentient being. Yeah, I'm sticking with 26 weeks as the moral cutoff, but legally, I don't think there should be a legal cutoff at all. Why 26 weeks? Because I don't think before that it's sentient in any significant way. The sentience level is too weak for me to consider it. Exactly, Green Eye. Laws on our bodies are bad. Exactly. Will I ever debate Parker again? I hope so. I don't think he will. But yes, I would like to talk about veganism more. And I actually applied to Jubilee's next vegan debate. So I might be on Jubilee next month, but we'll see. Meeting in the middle is not fair. I don't think it's fair to do that. Have you talked to Dr. Avi or Amdir on the 6-week position? No, I don't think that that's a good position. I disagree with the 6 weeks. I think that's way too short. I don't care about heartbeats or brainwaves. That doesn't concern me. Just because you have brainwaves doesn't mean you're sentient or conscious. There's a vast difference, guys, between consciousness and having brainwaves. And even if they were sentient, I still wouldn't think it's okay to restrict bodily autonomy, even in that case. So I don't think it's going to be convincing to me. I value bodily autonomy more than if the baby is sentient, or if it's a fetus or an embryo or a zygote or a baby. I don't care. I value bodily autonomy more. So sentience is not the basic trait for moral consideration. That's not the only one. No vegan thinks that it's only sentience is the only thing that matters here. Again, there's way more nuance there. There's nuance in the abortion discussion that is not present in the veganic discussion. And that's why you can't equivocate. Do bivalves deserve rights? I don't know. I don't know. It's a gray area to me. I don't know. I'm not decided yet. I don't know. But as it stands, I avoid eating them, right? That's all I can say. As it stands, I withhold. I'm reserved about it first before I go ahead and eat them. But there might be a day where we find out they're not conscious at all. They don't have experiences. Then, yeah, to me, it'll be okay. So there's not enough information yet. There's not enough empirical data yet. But I still reserve my actions until that data comes in. Did you watch Parker's embarrassing debate? I'm not going to talk about that guy. I don't like talking about people. People do it to me all the time, and it's not nice. It's not nice. Do you have a degree? Yes, I do. I have a degree in geoscience. Do you fear hell? No, I don't fear hell. Who do you think won last night's debate? Oh, between Trump and Kamala? Yeah, Kamala definitely won. She won on substance, optics. She won all around, I think. Could she have been a bit more aggressive and more progressive? Yes. But yeah. Yeah, this guy is just crazy. Just mute this guy. Kamala blew it out the water. Yeah. I don't have any unhinged conspiracy theories. I'm very reluctant to believe in anything like that. What do you think of Parker? Oh, wait, stop talking about him, please. Do you support catch and release for invasive species? No. I wouldn't support that. Now, would I support contraception? Would I support, reducing populations through non-fatal means? Yes, I would support that. But catch and release is still not necessary.